What me and Deft have is a very, very unique friendship.
편성할 때 만나게 된 걸 보고 원래 결승에서나 만나고 싶었는데
Facing each other in the finals would have been the dream. But I think the stage here in London is going to be filled with a lot of excitement.
Mako, he's in trouble, he flashes out for Jeff! He's gonna get first blood! That's a double kill for the team!
One on the board, it's a triple kill for Reckless though. They're turning onto Kid and Kitties. Quadra kill for Reckless!
Both of us have a lot of things still to show. It's a perfect place to fight each other because it has to happen in the end, right? Me on one side and Deft on the other, I cannot possibly see it becoming anything less than a great game.
The stun! The triple kill! The quadra kill for Hootie! For EDG, this is the team fighting team we're expecting. They finally showed up, but it's gonna be enough! There are no respawns, and Fnatic take the first seed out of the group!
Hello and welcome to Day 3 of the 2015 League of Legends World Championship Quarterfinals. We're moving on to the second half of the bracket at the SSE Arena in Wembley, where the fans are out in droves and pumped as ever. Of course, we've got Fnatic coming up onto the stage, so you know there's going to be a ton of energy in that crowd anytime that team is playing. Earlier in the day, a real live champion select taking place outside the venue. Banned out and not pictured, unfortunately, is Gangplank. And of course, here you're getting a look at Edward Gaming making their way into the venue just a short time ago. Deft bringing up the real. He'll be going up against Fnatic, as well as his longtime friend and spirit animal, Reckless. Worlds will end for one of these teams, while the other will continue down the road towards the Summoners Cup. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson, anchoring the analyst desk, where I'm joined by the head coach of Europe's Rockhat, Jacob Yamano-Kenenevdi, the OPL's Jake Spawn Tiberi, and North America's own Aiden Zyrene Moon. Thank you for joining me for another huge matchup that will change the face of the knockout stage, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
There you go. See,
Come on,
be polite. Spawn has no interest in being polite today. Brief recap with the yesterday's 3-0 win. SK Telecom are the second team to advance to next week's semifinals in Brussels. Well, they'll face Origin. Now, yesterday, Crumbs claimed that semifinal series is where SK Telecom could finally be handed their first loss. And in an interview with LoLesports.com, the players of SKT echoed the sentiment, saying they don't see themselves as invincible. Do you guys follow the same line of thinking there?
I just think that's a great mentality to have, though, because that was a big thing that we heard them talk about. Koma did an interview where he was saying complacency and underestimating your opponents is what would be the downfall of SKT, so they're not going to do that here.
Yeah, but they look pretty unbeatable at the moment. Like, if we're going to take a look at their games yesterday, sure, Game 3 looked a little bit shaky, but I don't see them losing a late game to Origin, and Origin haven't shown yet that they can play very early on in the map at this world, so we'll see where they could take one.
I'm just, first off with Crumb's statement, like, if Origin plays like they did on Thursday, and SKT did play as if they played on Friday, I think Origin will have a quick 3-0 on their hands.
Well, Niels himself did say that if
SKT.
they played the way they played on Thursday, that they would not stand a chance against SKT. So the presumption is that they will make some efforts to buff up their play. Of course, now it's time to jump to the other half of the bracket in today's series. So let's send it to Freak on stage to meet the teams that will do battle.
Hello, London! And welcome to Day 3 of the League of Legends World Championship Quarterfinals. We've already crowned 2 semifinalists already, and today we find the third. Starting on the blue side for Game 1, the #1 seed from the European League of Legends Championship Series. But it's gonna be Fnatic! There are no respawns, and Fnatic take the first seed out of the group. Well, the crowd here doesn't need the introduction, but for you at home, the top laner, Hootie! Roaming the jungle, Rainover. Manning the mid lane, Febevin. At AD carry, Reckless. Their support, Yellow Star. And Fnatic's coach, Daylor. Let's hear it for Fnatic, everybody. And their opponents on the red side, the champions of the mid-season invitational from China's League of Legends Pro League, Edward Gaming.
EG, this is the team fighting team we were expecting. They finally showed up.
In the top lane, Koro. Ganking from the jungle, Clear Love. One of the kings of the mid lane, Pawn. Their AD carry, Deft. The support, Mako. Substitute top laner, Amazing J. And EDG's coach, Aaron. Ladies and gentlemen, EDG. One more time, London. Let's hear it for tonight's quarterfinalists.
Well, there they are. A lot of history between these two teams. You have Reckless and Deft from Worlds last year. You have the fact that both of these teams went up against each other at MSI. So, you know, the history between these teams is only going to fuel more what is to be a very, very strong quarterfinal performance, I'm certain.
Yeah, they both also have a record of domestic dominance, and now they're trying to put that on the world stage and succeed there.
Yeah, they both certainly had fantastic regular seasons. They were both challenged coming into their grand final. Fnatic were able to get theirs together and come through as the first seed. On the other side, EDG failed at that, and that put him in SKT's group and set up what should be an absolute cracker of a quarterfinal here.
I'm just looking at how the teams have changed. I'm looking at, in particular, Fnatic. They are a completely different team since the last time they faced. That's why I'm super excited for this matchup.
Well, as the teams take their place for game one, let's focus in on the series at hand. Fnatic versus Edward Gaming. Expectations were high around our midseason invitational winner, Edward Gaming. In the group stages, they were able to beat up on the weaker teams, H2K and the Bangkok Titans, but were absolutely dismantled by SKT. So today will be the first true showing of how strong EDG actually are.
Yeah, and looking at the top lane, because they've made a change here, Koro1 is coming in for Amazing J. The last time we saw Koro play was 2 months ago today. That's the last time we saw a professional game from him, and it was pre-516. And in those games, they were 1-6 in the playoffs, and that's where they actually fell down and had to go to the regional qualifier. So right now, Koro, he was out for a back shoulder injury, and now he's coming back in. I don't know how much practice he has with the team. Rumors are going around that he doesn't actually have that much since they boot camped in Korea because they were focusing on Amazing J. How much does this guy have? Because they're bringing the captain back in, and one of their problems during the group stages was communication. He's a facilitator of the communication, and that's the bonus, the plus here they're looking to get from having him back on the roster as opposed to Amazing J.
I think that's a very scary point, like the fact that he's injured, but the fact it still remains that they have Amazing J on the bench. If something happens, I'm happy to see they bring in Koro because he has shown in the past that he is willing to play the defensive role, which Amazing J is really bad at. But something that I want to focus on is the Reckless and Deft matchup. We've seen the video, we've seen like the relationship they have between each other. They are good friends. But like when I look at them both, they have a lot of history. They faced each other at Worlds last year. Samsung Blue versus Fnatic. I think, of course, Fnatic won once and Samsung Blue won once. There's a lot of history here when you're looking at these two teams. But of course, they're on. You saw Reckless going to, I think it was Alliance. And of course, after that, he was on Alliance and it looked kind of poor. And after that, he changed as a player. I think that is the most important thing. He's changed as a player and he kind of fit into the role as the defensive player in Fnatic. Like on Alliance, he got the criticism that he was very passive. And I feel on Fnatic, that role is perfect for him because they're playing around the top lane. And Deft as well, he was known as the teamfight AD carry. Like when I think of Deft, I also think of Imp, like Charizard and Blastoise in a way. And of course, Deft was the teamfight AD carry, Imp was the laner. And I feel like Deft now with EDG, he has evolved a lot because they're playing around him. He's dominant in lane and he's becoming a perfect AD carry.
Yeah, Reckless himself has been outspoken about the fact that he's happy to take kind of a back seat on the team, play champions like Sivir or Kennen now, the new AD
You were
carry
so
that's been
happy
picked
about
up.
that.
I'm very happy about
So
that.
happy about
the Runon's Hurricane Kennen, but picked up, you know, to be that kind of supportive team fight AD carry that he needs to be for the team.
Yeah, it certainly has. And, you know, you have to say that this is a role that Deft was very comfortable playing on Samsung Blue, but no longer plays on the EDG lineup. He's got a very aggressive support in Maker, and that does set them up for some success. But what I want to look at is historically, and in this Worlds, why the LPL teams seem to be falling down. And the first thing I do want to point out is the lane swap situation. This is something that the European teams and Fnatic especially execute on very well, whereas the LPL teams, we saw it in Invictus and LGD, but now even to a lesser extent, EDG, because they're not used to playing a very calculated lane swap. They're very reactive in the LPL, and they try and take it far. A very good example, if you want to go back and look at it, is actually the game against H2K, where EDG stayed top lane, and they dared H2K to make another map on the move while they took the tier 2 turret. That is very LPL League of Legends. Trade an objective, wait for them to react, and then see if you can exploit a weakness. We need to see more of that out of EDG if they're going to be able to take games off Fnatic today. And the other reason I think the LPL teams have fallen down a little bit is that their junglers just haven't shown up so far. Kakao had the game where he went absolutely missing on Skarner, and I just don't think he picked a champion for the rest of the tournament. Then you look at a couple of the other games where LGD's jungler just didn't perform well. Clearlove is like the last hope. He's always, like, this season especially, he's been the pinnacle of the junglers. But on the other side of the rift, you have to say probably the most improved jungler coming into this tournament has been Fnatic jungler Reignover. He's been an absolute monster in the early game. He's facilitated the top lane ganks. He's been able to get Huni ahead. And when he needs to be bottom lane, he's actually shown up.
Yeah, and the thing here as well is the lane swaps haven't been going too well for EDG. You know, the Bangkok Titan kind of mishap there that happened in the H2K game where they had to play from deficits and come back into it. That's another reason that they're pulling Koro in for the communication, because it hasn't been the lane swap mechanics from what they've been saying. They're saying they aren't talking enough in their comms. They aren't communicating. Even though there's a language barrier between some of them, they don't think that's an issue. They just haven't been on the same page due to not having their captain.
100%. And another myth I want to dispel is EDG is not a team in the LPL that is dominant from minute 1 to minute 30 when they win the game. They fall behind over and over again. They give up early dragons. They look to execute around 22-minute team fights around the Baron area. That's how they won MSI, and that's how they would expect to play today. It's just that the tempo of the game is so much quicker than what League of Legends was at that part of the year.
Now, in conjunction with the junglers, I want to take a look at the top lane. You already mentioned the fact that Koro is coming back in. EDG, though, likes to focus around the bot lane, whereas Fnatic will throw a lot of attention towards that top lane and Huni. So considering the Reignover Clearlove matchup and the possible 2v2s in the top lane, where do we expect that top lane matchup to go?
Honestly, the way things have been looking, if we see the same performances from both these teams as in the group stages, Fnatic will win the top lane because they put more resources into it at the moment. Koro, you know, he has played the tanks in the past, the Maokai, the Gnar, and tried to play safe, and he doesn't get as many resources. They like to play to their bottom lane on EDG, and they like to get an advantage there. And that's something that hit them pretty hard during the group stages on EDG's side. They're focusing bottom lane, but Amazing J wasn't playing safe enough, and he got ganked, and he would die in the top lane. So that's what they're trying to remedy as well.
Something that we need to pay attention to an extra much in this particular matchup, I feel, is the Elise.
Huni getting some love right now. Just have to interject right now. You hear the fans.
And of course, Reignover, which I assume he's going to get the Elise. When I think of the Elise, My voice is cracking up. I don't know what's going on. Okay, it's back.
It went like 3 octaves up.
He's got a lot of feelings about Elise.
Elise, my darling. The thing is, I feel like if Clearlove is put in a matchup where Gragas, Rek'Sai, the good old, like the classic jungle matchup that we had like throughout the season, I think then he can dominate. If Reynov gets his Elise in the first rotation that Fnatic have favored multiple times, then I think Reynov is going to sway that in his favor.
Yeah, I think that we also have to take a look at like the caliber of top laners that the LPL currently has, and there are some very aggressive top laners, and historically Koro has done very well in the matchups, and even at MSI, Koro did incredibly well against Huni. He is someone that likes to not exert dominance over a lane, but he absorbs a lot of pressure and plays a fantastic Gnar. So these are champions that are very hard to turret dive. As soon as they go Maggie, you can't commit to it because there's just way too much CC in their kit, and I actually think that's why they've brought it in. Even during the Road to Worlds, when EDG were performing well around their top laner, they threw no resources into Amazing J. He would get like these 5-kill leads. He was having like 12-1 Olaf games, but he would randomly die at like tier 2 turrets because he's just over aggressive. And I think that's why the swap has come in. Even if Amazing J was able to beat Huni in lane, he would be exploited throughout the mid stages of the game because Huni always gets Huni type plays throughout a stage of the game. And I think that that is where Koro will be able to shine in this matchup. He is very good in 2v1 situation.
All right, well, we want to get your thoughts on this quarterfinal showdown. Hop on Twitter and tell us which player or lane will have the biggest impact today and why. Send your answers to @LOLesports with the hashtag Worlds so we can check in with you later today. The teams are just about ready on stage, but before we kick it off with this series, I want to know who you guys think will be moving on to the semifinals, starting with you, Yamato.
I have full faith in the European League of Legends simply because I'm going to go for Fnatic, obviously. Because in this current meta, there is very, very little room to ban out players like Reynov and Febiven. Because the last time these two faced, we saw the Azir ban, the Cassiopeia ban, and Febiven struggled. There's no room for that. Fnatic have the first seed, they have blue side 3 times, and I think they're going to take it.
All right.
I disagree on one point. I think that this matchup will come down to junglers being banned out. I think that Clearlove will be targeted, and I also think Reynov will be heavily targeted from both sides of the Rift. And I think that Pawn has a pocket pick in the Veigar that can very much control Febiven's champion pool. I expect this game to be very polarizing on top and bottom side of the Rift. I think Fnatic have a huge advantage top lane, and if they are going to win, they need to exploit it. And EDG, playing around their bottom lane, should be able to get the better off of that matchup. I am going for EDG, but I think this will be our first 5-game series, and I think this is incredibly close.
All right, Zyrene, time to break the tie.
It is incredibly close. And I've been thinking about this matchup a lot. And then you look over at these two teams. You look at EDG, they look like this great army that has had a lot of success, but they've faltered a little bit. They've lost their general. Their general's coming back in, but they've moved on. It's no longer about shooting bows. It's about your guns. What accuracy does Koro have in the top lane? And you know what? This is real life. This isn't one of those fantasy books. I don't think he has the practice to pull it off. I don't. Yeah, this is a video game in real life.
I'm sorry to interrupt your speech, but
it's over. You ruined it.
I know.
But I don't think Koro has the accuracy yet on these guns to carry in the top lane. I think Huni has his number. I think Fnatic's going to take it home. I think they have hometown advantage. And I also think blue side for them is going to be big here. I am going with Fnatic today. Euphoria.
There it is. There it is. A very strong endorsement from Zyrene there. Well, the predictions are in. Let's kick it to the casters and load up for the first game in this best of 5. On the way, we'll hear from Reckless and Def, 280 carries who forged a strong friendship from the crucible of battle.
I think what me and Deft have is a very, very unique friendship, which is something different from what usually a normal friendship would be.
일단 후니 선수도 푸나틱 가기 전에
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I guess it basically all started last year. My eye catched him, along the way when I was looking for people to look up to. I was a big fan of him. I even named one of my accounts like European Deft. He thought that was super cool. So he actually reached out to me and added me on the league client when we went to boot camp in Korea. So for me, that made me feel really appreciated, as a person and as a player.
작년에는 제가 삼성 블루라는 팀에서 푸나틱이랑 붙게 됐었는데 저희가 한 판 졌었어요.
I saw Deft crying after the game, and I really respect him, and I went to him after the game and I gave him a hug and I said, shit happens, in the end, life continues, you will do better next time, and I think he was really grateful for it.
되게 착해요. 착한 부분 때문에 친해지게 됐고 롤드컵이 끝나고 나서도 뭐 스카이프나 그런 걸 통해서 게임 내적인 거 정보 같은 것도 공유해서 친해지게 됐고
So we can talk about things very, very deep into the game. There's nothing to lose, right? You know, if I share some secrets with Deft and he shares some with me, and then we both evolve as a player.
중국이랑 또 한국이랑 북미랑 유럽이랑 이렇게 메타나 또 쓰는 챔피언들이 되게 다른데 분명 배워야 할 게 서로 있는데 만약에 제가 레클리스 선수가 없었으면 그냥 배우지 못했을 것들을 이렇게 대화 스카이프 같은 걸 통해서 알게 되고
What I have with Deft is just different from what I think many other people do not have. That we can speak about these kind of things without it like influencing my game badly when I'm facing him or his game badly when he's facing me, because that happens so rarely. But when it actually does, we're both kind of in our ultimate form.
Fnatic has to face EDG. Has to face EDG. What a tough challenge.
좀 편성할 때 만나게 된 걸 보고 원래 결승에서나 만나고 싶었는데 너무 빨리 만나게 된 것 같아서 좀 그랬어요.
I mean, obviously I want to win as well. That's why I'm here, and that's why he's here as well. But I think in the end I would be more than happy to see him win as well as myself.
이게 작년에도 백크리 선수가 우승하라고 꼭 그랬었는데 제가 우승을 못했었는데 이번에는 꼭 둘 중에 한 명이 우승했으면 좋겠어요.
I think it's super cool what we have because we seem to understand each other on such a personal base, even though we actually don't even speak the same language. I do something for a living that only a few people around the world does the same, right? And he's one of them.
Absolutely fantastic video about two truly world-class AD carries. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, shooting down the cast with Sam, Kobe Hartman Kensler, and Martin DeFicio Lunga. We're about to get ready for Fnatic versus Edward Gaming. This is the first quarterfinal on the bottom half of the bracket. And while the players are getting ready for picks and bans, let's talk a little bit about picks and bans. Is Fnatic going to play around Reckless? DeFicio, yes or no?
No for game one, unless they surprise us. And Fnatic is a team who's not afraid of pulling out new things in these very important games. MSI, the Cassiopeia top lane against Team Solar Med, was so effective they knocked them out of the tournament from basically game one. So they're not afraid of pulling out these new picks. They can do it in the first game, but I'm not expecting it.
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting matchup between AD carries because we have Reckless, the utility AD carry so far, with the Kennen and Sivir pick so far, whereas Deft has gone with the hard carry, the Kalista, the Jinx. Will we see, some more interesting picks like the Ashe or something come out for Reckless, one of the older? Their final form, he said it's going to be their final form. Is the final form of Reckless and Deft just perfect CS, never trading?
We'll find out once we get into this best of five. But let's also talk about some of the more specific champions. Tom Kench, Fnatic, had such a difficulty with this guy.
Strongest champion in the game.
Against AHQ, they had to try get past him, and eventually did, but it took a monumental effort. And truthfully, Fnatic were on the verge of losing that game to AHQ in the group stage.
That game was lost. All inhibitors were down, and there was just one team fight left. Fabian went crazy, won it for Fnatic, but Tom Kench is going to be such a problem for them. We haven't seen Yellowstar play more than once, and that was back in the final of the EU LCS against Origin. I'm sure he can play it, but if you don't play around your AD carry like Fnatic doesn't do, Tom Kench doesn't have that much value.
Yeah, and as for EDG's bans, I think since they're on red side, they may just be locked into the Gangplank, Mordekaiser, and Elise.
Yeah.
As I said many times, you don't want to give the Elise over to Reignover. He's already proven he will perform with that champion on the international stage, and it's just too much early game pressure to deal with.
And I definitely agree with the first two bans from Fnatic. Kalista against Deft, you know he can play it really well. You don't want to risk that 2v2 bully lane. Tom Kench coming, we just said it.
On the bench again.
Fnatic doesn't want to play it themselves right now with the style they're using. So instead they just ban it away to avoid Mako picking it.
And first pick jungler, it is Rek'Sai as Elise has been taken off the table. And Clear Love has actually had Elise banned against him 3 times this tournament already.
But we can really see what Fnatic is doing here, right? It's an AD carry ban and then 2 bans on targets that could buff up that AD carry or make him almost unkillable with the Tom Ken. So really, they know EDG wants to play around Deft.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the reasons that this matchup between Fnatic and EDG is so interesting because it's such a top-focused team versus a bottom lane-focused team. Meanwhile, another standard jungler being locked in here. Gragas and Thresh don't give anything away from EDG's side.
And I think that's the key thing because EDG knows Rek'Sai will be the first pick when they ban away that Elise. You're kind of saying, Reignover, take your second best champion now and also take that away from Clearlove. But he's played this matchup time and time again. He's fine with this. He gives the scaling jungler towards the team fights late on in the game. And of course, Thresh, we've seen from Mako, the pick potential these two guys have. And the way you can set up ganks in the bottom lane is very key.
I would definitely expect Fnatic to save their solo lane picks here because EDG will have to reveal either their mid lane or their top lane first. I expect EDG to save mid lane pick for Pawn. So if you reveal the top lane, then Fnatic can actually counter pick top lane next round.
And this is one of the reasons.
Flex Cannon.
Yeah, Flex Cannon can obviously go, not support in this case with Alistar, but can go top lane, can go for Reckless or 2 Reckless as the AD carry. But what EDG can do with Koro now in this lineup and why I think they swapped him in, and one of the reasons for it is the fact he can play a really good Gnar. Very safe matchup for him. He could even maybe go for a Malphite if he wants to and take a lane where he sits back and he just relies on teleporting. He doesn't need any resources like Amazing J did to be useful.
That's a very good point. You know, will EDG also change their playstyle though? You know, while Amazing J did make a lot of his own mistakes, the team also did not help him very often.
We'll need to see how Edward Gaming play around their substitute on Worlds tonight. Last night, I mentioned that all of the Chinese teams have performed better after moving in a sub. Let's see if EDG can keep that up. 10 seconds left on the clock. Potentially seeing that Jace, but it might switch at the last second. What are they going to lock in here?
So, in case it is Jace.
Oh.
Okay, this pick.
And it is.
Can go to Deft.
71 unique champions.
We were sitting here and looking a little bit at some of the solo queue accounts for
Solo queue
EDG.
spine pays off.
And Jace was one of them for Deft. It is a flex pick and go into the mid lane as well. So we're just gonna have to wait and see with the last pick. But this might really fool Fnatic if they haven't done the same scouting.
I would desperately want it to be Jace versus Kennen in the bottom lane for the most ridiculous 2v2 bottom lane matchup that we will have seen. But yes, in all likelihood, it's probably going to Pawn. You know, this is a Pawn champion. He's been such a great Jace for so long. But there is that possibility that they could flex it to bottom.
Question, if that is a flex, how do Edward Gaming round out their composition and how on earth do Fnatic reply?
So look at what EDG has right now. If you are going to run a Jace in the bottom lane, you need backup. Because obviously for him to all in lane, he's gonna go melee form, he's gonna jump in on the cannon. So a Twisted Fate is open for them in the mid lane. That pick, combined with the fact that Gragas and Thresh to set up ganks, that could be scary towards the bottom lane.
Solo lane Jarvan or a solo lane Rek'Sai. Do you think?
Huni will take it in top lane.
And he's done it before.
Yeah, we've seen this Jarvan before, and Reignover has never played Jarvan in competitive play. That would be a new one for him at least, but I'm expecting this one to go top into the Fiora matchup. EDG should know that could happen and probably will happen, but instead we get the safe victor as well for Feb.
Now, if memory serves, when Huni did play that Jarvan top, it was against Elements, and the game was challenging, let's say.
He had a terrible start.
That's exactly it.
Nothing. And then, after like 20 minutes, his team was winning. He got like 5 kills, and it was like, oh, Jarvan seemed to work pretty well for Huni. But we didn't get to see that early game from him where he was super dominant. I hope it's going to be Twisted Fate for EDG. I think it fits in perfectly with what they're building here.
There's the flex.
It's going to be Jace AD carry.
We get it. Oh, I thought it was
Can't
so
believe it worked.
ridiculous. I know. When we brought this up, talking about it, we're like, nah, he's just playing around. But this is going to be the bottom lane Jace versus bottom lane Kennen matchup.
Could you ask for a more interesting way to
they're baiting a
start
Twisted Fate 80
the
carry.
quarterfinals of Fnatic versus Edward Gaming?
But again, let's just really quick talk about this Jace. What it's going to do? Okay, the all-in potential is going to be very, very strong. You have backup from Clearlove, who loves to sit around the bottom lane. You have Lantern from the Thresh, you have CC to set up, and then a Twisted Fate joining. They're even running triple teleport at the moment.
Also, Jace is actually a really good champion just individually against Alistar. If you queue up the knockback for Jace in hammer form, you can cancel the headbutt and he won't be able to combo you. So he'll headbutt you and you'll knock him back at the same time. Won't be able to get off that pulverized and we'll be able to interrupt it. Plus, they also have the Thresh for Flay interrupts as well.
They're still sitting on triple teleport at the moment. Add in a Twisted Fate as well. That's in total 4 globals coming in for
And
EDG.
Febiba's running cleanse in that middle lane.
We'll wait until they lock. They did. They went into game with
Flash,
3 teleports.
teleport, AD carry, death. It is happening, and it is happening here in London. Hit up Twitter with your votes, hashtag FNC win. If you think Euphoria is the way, or hashtag EDG win. If you think Eulogy is the way, it's game 1 of the quarterfinals.
I'm so excited to see if EDG change their ways and actually try and focus on top lane now, because this Jarvan Fiora matchup is really, really snowballing. If Jarvan gets the first lead there, he can 100% Fiora. And yes, Fiora can riposte, but you have to have a really quick reaction time to riposte the Jarvan combo as soon as you hear the flag go down.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Jace and a Twisted Fate that's very easy to lock down for Jarvan once he gets rolling, or if he gets rolling up in that top lane. And there's a lot of CC on the side of Fnatic, Alistar, Kennen, even Victor with his own stun. So there's a lot of ways for EDG in the very squishy lineup here to get locked down, but so many teleports, long-range poke from a Twisted Fate and Jace as well. If they start grouping, having that 1-4 setup with Core split pushing on this other side.
All right, so while everybody's been on the teleport hype train for all of Worlds, let's talk about what you lose when you don't take a combat summoner for your lane. Obviously, you're going to be weaker in the lane 1 versus 1. Really, that's supported by all of your teammates having the ability to teleport in if your opponents go aggressive. However, if Fnatic can go aggressive in multiple lanes at the same time and gain the advantage, then force them out of lane and have them teleport back, you can defeat them while they're on cooldowns.
But if I wanted to run teleport on my AD carry or on my support, I would do it against Fnatic. Because again, they are a team who does not play around Reckless and Yellowstar in the bottom lane. They will sit very often and farm alone and get no help. So if you know you always have your jungler as backup and a teleport from top and from mid, I would feel safe enough not running a defensive summon.
And look at the starts from the junglers. This is exactly what we're talking about for both of these teams. Reignover starts on the bottom side, so he'll end up top by the top side, you know, where he's usually around Huni. And Clearlove is starting on the top side. Well, he'll end up on the bottom side of the map to try and help Deft.
And Fnatic is pulling for him, so he doesn't have to use an early potion. He gets the camp down faster and rushes towards the red buff. So he will be slightly ahead of Clearlove once he reaches that top side. But again, it puts Fnatic's bottom lane behind because they don't get a camp. Deft is level 2 already.
He's got himself a ward, some additional potions from securing that Gromp. And gents, the theory of the AD carry teleport has been explained well. Let's see if EDG's communication can step up. Because with Amazing J, they did not look to be on the same page. But we have heard Analyst Desk discussing the leadership that Koro can bring. But he's also not on a tank, so he may also want some assistance and some support on that Fiora.
Well, he's had about 4 or 5 weeks now to practice the new meta picks up in the top lane. And while his performance in the playoffs last time we saw him wasn't great, he got benched. Amazing J stepped in for regionals and did really well. Koro is back and he's here for quarterfinals. Clearly the team believes in him.
Yeah, here we go mid though. Reignover, level 3 going for the Rek'Sai gank. Looks like he may be able to get, oh, he misses even the Prey Seeker, so he gets 0 damage out of it. Wasted very little time though.
Did show he moved towards the top side of the map. So right now it's very easy for EDG. You can see Koro already gone back to his own tower because his team is communicating. Careful, Rek'Sai going on top side. Don't risk the combo from a Jarvan that is so easy to set up a gang into the next knockup from Reignover.
Yeah, and he's actually using his teleport back to lane here for Koro. So that is 2 of them down. All three of them
down.
actually been expended. So I talked about working around those cooldowns for the teleports. All of these laners are much weaker in lane. Really, the difference is going to have to come from the extra Doran's Blade that Koro bought
Versus the
with
blue
that
buff.
purchase.
That Feathervin has now been donated. First one of the game. So already Feathervin had shoved Pawn in. Pawn's picked up that additional Dorans. Feathervin's going to have to do a little bit more work with that blue to maintain control against Pawn.
It's such a funny setup Fnatic run. The bottom lane doesn't get a camp alone. They give it over to the jungler or to Huni normally. And Reignover rarely takes away his own blue buff early on because he gives it to Feathervin. He can use it more in that mid lane. So they're trying to really split the resources quite a lot. And because they're playing a utility AD carry, they don't care about Reckless falling 5-10 CS behind.
They're paying it forward. Bottom lane gave a leash to jungle, then jungle gave the early blue buff
Then
to
they
mid.
gank for Huni.
They're such great friends. Here, look at this invade from Fearlove, though. Does get down some early wards. Now, as a jungler, whenever you go to your Raptor camp this early in the game and you see it not spawned, if Reignover goes over there and sees the Raptors have been cleared, you have to assume there's a ward in that brush. Because you've obviously been counter jungled there, this is literally the most common ward that junglers will place early in the game. Right now, just because he just switched over to his sweeper, he doesn't have it ready to activate, but he's got to know that he just went through wards.
Instantly pinged the location, Kobe.
He'd get himself into trouble.
Well aware, Gold Card is already primed. Reignover gets tagged, but he channeled the tunnel already and gets away relatively unscathed.
Yeah, Pawn jumped the gun there a little bit. They had him right where they wanted. Full vision on him, but pulls the trigger early.
Now, Mountain showed us yesterday just how slippery a Rek'Sai can be. Reignover sticking around for this invade, and there's seems to be a little bit of movement from the mid lane. The Death Ray catches Pawn. Reignover's not going to get the knock up, and the Gold Card did connect. Reignover's still got Flash, is going to need to channel. Teleport's coming in onto the tunnel from behind. Huni throws down the Demacian standard, and the Dragon Strike, and it's first blood to Feathervin, but Reignover eats the wild cards, trades 1 for 1.
Yeah, a little greedy there for Reignover. Goes back in, gets hit with the auto and the wild cards, I believe, to go down for an extra kill. Fnatic would have had that clean first blood if not for that.
Not very often, though, we see Fnatic put so much attention towards the mid lane. Early on, Feathervin farms under control mages. Normally doesn't do a whole lot, but they really want to shut down this Twisted Fate. Early on, it meant Reignover showed himself twice, and EDG knew what was going on, but didn't respect the fact they didn't have a teleport from top, and Huni did.
Yeah, actually chalked that up to sort of a fumble by EDG because they were the team with more information. And they got played there. 3 teleports down, and they let Fnatic create a play. They were down in teleports.
Reckless just got chunked real hard down bottom, and Huni, he's been challenged. Koro in his first game at the World Championship flashes forward aggressively. Destiny gets channeled by Pawn, and Huni is caught by the red cards. Gate is revealing his vision. Koro lunges forward. Red card, yellow card, blue card. Pawn's looking for the trigger, pulls it on the gold, but Huni's managed to get away.
EDG afraid of chasing in. They had no vision in this jungle. Didn't know if suddenly Reignover would show up, but Feathervin was nearby. And in the end, Huni escapes. First ulti used from the Twisted Fate of EDG, and it was not resulting in a kill.
And that is huge. What an outplay there from Huni. Waiting for Pawn to trigger the ultimate there and actually commit to one direction. Pawn actually committing a little bit too early there. But Pawn does have the early cooldown reduction boots, so that will reduce the cooldown for his next Twisted Fate ultimate.
Yeah, we're probably going to see the standard build for him, where he goes for Home Guards very early on, and you're not afraid of then just use your entire mana pool and pushing out a wave, recalling, proc the Home Guards, get mana back, and then go gank the lane. Obviously, Fnatic needs to constantly communicate. Whenever he's moving away from the lane, he has TP, and ulti will be up in a few minutes as well.
Because Victor can clear a wave so easily, though, he's one of the best at punishing that roam. Pawn went for the early play, and Feathervin's already up. A large amount of CS there in the middle lane.
Pawn's playing for the impact, though. Home Guards again picked up. Reckless, we just caught a glimpse. A little lucky that his opposite number's gone for that Manabune build, so his Cutlass will be slightly more effective than the stacking tier. Gonna buy that AD carry a little bit of time to be more relevant.
There's some good things about the AD carry Kennen is on Cutlass and Blade of the Ruined King. He's very strong 1v1, and he can handle himself. He can sit and push out waves. Obviously not great wave clear, But the build we're going to see from Deft is going to be that tier into Brutalize, into Last Whisper, and so on. Huni again getting jumped on by Coral.
Relatively even. Huni's Golden Age just blocked some of that damage. Cora's going to get some additional sustain.
Yeah, you can see how defensively Koro has to play. He has to run away as soon as his riposte is on cooldown there. Rainover does go through a ward, so he'll continue to play defensively. Right now, what you want to do is stay just close enough to keep Rainover around and waste his time. Clearlove actually gonna find him here.
And he's got level 6. Koro's challenged Huni. It's top v top and jungle v jungle. Huni's been procced. Koro's regen. Huni's got to run away. Destiny's being channeled. The dunk comes down and Koro takes a tower shot. Pawn gets a kill on Rainover. 2 for 0, EDG.
EDG is constantly reading where Rainover is going, and Clearlove had early level 6. Another teleport for the team, and they can just simply collapse onto Fnatic. Huni right now, every time he gets a one-on-one against Koro, he's losing it, and he just died 1v1.
With 3 teleports and Twisted Fate ultimate, it's ridiculously hard for Fnatic to keep track of all the globals here, so they have to be very careful and very sure of their vision when they go for plays like this. Plus, right there, Huni committing to the 2 versus 2, actually trying to keep Koro from converging on Rainover and save Rainover there, cost him big. Koro with the almost instant 4 proc of the Vitals, really well done there by Koro.
And that's why I would really like to see Fnatic just kind of sit back and say we don't have to go aggressive,
Yeah, exactly.
because our mid laner will never be able to follow. But what Febiven can do is just constantly push in that mid lane, get a little bit of damage on the mid tower, empty the mana pool of the Twisted Fate, and keep the pressure that way, and always save your summoners for defensive moves when the teleports start happening from EDG. You cannot fight early on against so many globals.
They even had the early sight zone here. Rainover's got the sight zone, set up your defensive vision to keep track of Gragas. If you can keep track of Gragas, then lanes can play defensively. Down bottom, Reckless and Yellowstar fairly easily playing safe. Meanwhile, though, Deft on the other side, as you said, he's got the tier. That's all that Jason wants to stack up right now.
Sure. Again, he's not going to be super strong at the moment, but he can still sit and farm. Not a whole lot of kill pressure. Again, also with the teleports. So really, against a team that plays so much around the top laner, having so many globals is so effective, because the split pushing should never really start from Huni. He will always just get jumped by 2 or 3 guys.
We'll find out how Huni's going to be able to pull himself back into the game. And we crested 10 minutes. Febiven's got a very large CS lead over Pawn. Pawn actually, CS difference at 10 is the 2nd lowest of all quarterfinalist mid laners. So he's going to have a little bit more pressure to make those side lane gank impacts more valuable.
Yeah, plus with this early home guard upgrade that you guys keep talking about, and a Twisted Fate ultimate back
Said it once,
up.
Kobe.
Right, it's a great point, because right now, what you're looking for is the recall timers. Everybody's fighting around recall timers right now. Yes, it is about, marginal CS leads, but it's the recall timer right before the big dragon fight setup here. You can already see Mako's trying to get the first line of wards down, trying to get some vision for themselves. Teleport's coming back up of cooldown.
And that dragon fight is where Fnatic needs to strike. It's not in the lanes against the globals. It's in a big 5-on-5 team fight where the enemy team is lacking 3 offensive summoners. We also see a Rod of Ages being built in the mid lane, so that's even slower stacking up. The first dragon is where Fnatic needs to be ready to fight. You have a cannon with his ulti, you have massive AoE from Febiven, and Huni can catch out some of these low mobility targets. That's where Fnatic want to strike, but they cannot fall further behind.
Also, it's exactly where Victor shines. If Febiven can get to level 11 first, the huge amount of burst from that Victor ultimate can easily 100% somebody with a full combo of Victor if they're able to gain some vision around the area. Yellowstar does get hooked in, though.
He's going to headbutt Deft
ult?
away. He's in trouble. Huni forced to flash. He's been collapsed on. Flash forward onto Pawn. He's taken 2 turret shots. The Grand Challenge may time out shortly, but that's a great charge. Backwards, Clearlove, as well as Pawn get themselves 1. Tower hits onto Koro. Will at least make it a 1 for 2. But EDG have the advantage. Level 10.
He's taking the wrong way.
He's gone the wrong direction. Clearlove has started to channel his recall. The Death Ray needs to hit, and it's going to. Febiven will make it 2 for 2.
And look at the difference right here, because Fnatic were not the ones making the play. They were sitting back, they were saving all the cooldowns of when this play would happen. Obviously, EDG can get the first kill because there are 3 guys going to top side, but at least you get a 2 for 2 on the side of Fnatic, and you use a lot of globals.
Yeah, you have to be so careful, though, because you feel like they used a lot of globals, but they still have 2 teleports available to finish.
It's unfair.
Yeah, exactly.
By saying a lot of globals, only use Twisted Fate over. So take that one back. Take that one back.
All 3 teleports will be available for EDG in just a couple of seconds. And that first dragon fight is still looming. As far as Fnatic are concerned, they've got first blood in every single one of the games they've played at the World Championships thus far. They've got the first tower in every single one of the games they've played thus far. First tower's yet to fall in this matchup. But in 2/3 of their games, they've got that dragon. Fnatic's early game decision-making has been pretty good. Here's this replay once more.
Yeah, and the highlight of this whole play is going to be Clearlove's ultimate on Gragas. So see here, Rainover does make a good play, you know, knocking up Han inside the turret, but Clearlove right here, the target right back out. They're able to get their kill. Gold card there from Pawn. Coral does go a little bit too deep. They might have been able to finish it off without him sacrificing, but that's actually pretty close there, so won't knock him too hard.
Still, Huni stays alive for quite a while. It buys time for the rest of Fnatic to move up there. We have to talk about the fact, though, that February, again, is not running teleport.
Yeah.
If he had it, this play would be so much more risky for EDG to pull off because he could instantly join in, he could turn it around. But he's building more again towards these team fights. He wants that cleanse. So he's going to be so hard to kill late game when EDG try and go for him.
The thing I like about all of this globals and the fact that EDG can hit Fnatic where they really are strongest in their skirmishes and playing around their side lanes is the fact that Fnatic showed weakness to that exact playstyle in the summer split. He's now been jumped on by Koro.
Oh,
very nicely played. Will be able to get that knock up and escape. And gets the grand challenge out of Koro, who hit level 11 first.
So we have TP for both top laners. Huni has ulti ready as well, and you can see Fnatic already started roaming around the dragon down here on the bottom side. They want to get these team fights going.
Pawn's going to get dove here. They've got Alistar coming in behind the turret.
Oh, Pawn's in so much trouble. Yellowstar needs to hit his combo. Flashes for the knock-up hit, but Pawn backwards. Falco saves him, keeps him alive. Huni's in trouble. He slides and glides and dunks down. Will lock in Gragas, but it may not be enough. Reckless will sidestep the shock blast before Pawn has teleported with 100 hit points. The he flashes it and gets the kill. Rainover died on the top half of the map, and EDG decimate Fnatic.
They just completely outplayed
The dominoes are still going down here.
It's just Yellowstar.
Is this actually going to happen? Yellowstar's feeling confident. The Unbreakable Will is available and the Exhaust. Yellowstar wants to die. He's got the teleport and Yellowstar's pulling back. Feathervin's arrived, but Koro may want to fight, and Fnatic feeling the pressure, down 2,000 goals.
So we have this dive in the mid lane. Mako, he saw it, he moved in, he saved his mid laner first. And then we have fights in every single lane. Fnatic pushing on this tower, Koro's here to defend.
I love the chain reaction when there are so many globals in the game. One fight breaks out on one side of the map and immediately 3 other do. Now we also want to see if Crow face checks his brush. Looks like he's going to skirt around it. But again, checking back in on that EDG story, they focused a lot more around top lane to get Koro ahead, to make sure that Koro succeeds with a lot of these globals, to make sure that he can then affect the rest of the maps.
Do they cancel? No.
All spotted on the pink ward. So they play more around Koro. He's on Fiora. They have globals. They have pink wards early on for him as well. But this coordination and communication from EDG is what we didn't see from the Chinese teams in the group stage. They couldn't pull off these multiple TP plays in time. Right here, this play is so insane. On 3 lanes from EDG. Dive on top side, fight in the bottom lane, instant teleport down to join that one as well. Rainover trying to do his best out of a top side.
But yeah, 2 versus 1 is difficult.
And Fnatic lose something in every single lane.
2 people who have been shining lights for Fnatic. Huni and Rainover, 0-3, 2-1, 4-1. Luckily for Fnatic, there is strong wave clear from Feathervin's Victor. Unluckily, they may have to wave clear on multiple lanes thanks to all of the map pressure EDG can apply in the coming minutes. The second tower falls. Fnatic keep gold lead relatively close, 2,000.
Oh, well, we have another face check here. Let's wait for this fight to be over.
Huni's going to chase down. He's going to find the Vital. Huni's going to slide himself to safety. But Koro's winning the duel time and time again.
Again, Clearlove top once again. They just want to make sure that Koro keeps Huni down. Another tower dive incoming.
There's no flash for Clearlove, but he connects the body slam. Huni's caught for a little while. flashes the cask and gets knocked backwards. Will Koro and Clearlove get away? Reignover is going to go for the knockup. He's not going to find it. Koro puts the challenge onto Reignover, and Yellowstar's still far away. Hooney's got the Cataclysm. He needs to find the target. Yellowstar's lumped up Koro, and Maiko with the Lantern of Life.
The Thresh, so underrated in these global comps. We talked about it being so important for Origin when they were running the double TP. Maiko has saved the mid game here for EDG. Remember, all of these plays that EDG made across the map, up in top lane and down in bottom lane, were because the mid lane dive that Fnatic were trying to pull off failed. When that tower dive failed with 4 people from Fnatic committed, EDG just got to spread across the map and punish Fnatic so heavily. If it wasn't for that, it would have been a trade. You know, just top lane Hooney dying, for mid lane Pawn dying, and Fnatic would have got that mid lane turret.
The only good thing for Fnatic at the moment is the fact they can keep pushing down these towers with all these guys leaving the lanes to teleport around. But EDG is doing exactly the same and getting the kill. So they're ahead in gold, 19 minutes in, and they've really been pulling off some very coordinated plays we didn't expect to see from EDG. Or the same EDG we saw in group stage.
Yeah.
It's a very, very different team already.
EDG averaged a 200 gold lead at 20 minutes. In this game, it's 10 times that. At 2,000. They will get the first dragon uncontested as Fnatic concede that objective. And for EDG, they are looking exceptional. Take a look at Pawn's build. Rod of Age has been stacking for 5 minutes. Lichbane is a second item.
Yeah.
Thanks to Koro's kills and farm, he's got that Black Cleaver picked up. And even Deft has picked up some armor pain, getting closer to that last Whisper. So those shock blasts are going to do a number on Fnatic's defense and allow EDG to siege and poke them away from the tower.
Yeah, Twisted Fate plus Jace poke is going to be able to keep Fnatic under turret here. Luckily for Fnatic, they do have the King of Wave Clear, Victor.
And I don't think EDG necessarily is looking too much to group up and poke with their comp here, because
Well, they've cut 3 teleports.
that's the
have to
thing.
agree with you
Exactly,
on that.
because Fnatic also running with the hard engage off the Java, and Hooney, while he didn't have a good early game because he's been camped so much up in that top side, he can still engage the fight and lock in one of these targets, burst them down with February for Fnatic. So if EDG wants to play it safe in some way, they keep running 1-3-1. With all these teleports here, have your Twisted Fate sit in mid and just keep going to both side lanes.
I think the thing that you do, though, is you combo your Twisted Fate with your Jace, because in the mid lane, Twisted Fate can then teleport to either side, you know, while Jace and Twisted Fate are poking in the mid lane. Plus, Jace has a speed boost he can use to disengage for them.
Gentlemen, Yellowstar, he fancies this one. He's going to pulverize onto Clearlove. The Unbreakable Will is there as well. Reignover's jumped in. Deft has got dunked by the Cataclysm, and he's dropped. The Grand Challenge is onto Hooney, and it procs, healing up EDG. But it does not matter. Koro's killed through the heal. Clearlove stunned up by Reckless. The pulverize connects. Fnatic find 3 kills. And may set their sights on Baron. They've peeled backwards.
We just talked about how EDG does not want to group up, because then the hard engage from Fnatic can happen. And what do we see? Well, they get the fight. They start the Baron.
Yes, they're going for Baron here, and it's just Pawn and Maiko on the outside, going to try and poke them off of it here.
Find out if they do. Maiko's gonna need to wind up that chain and find a target. 2,500 hit points on Baron. Paul is gonna throw the wild cards. They killed Yellowstar. The Baron's secured. Will they win the fight? Pawn's knocked up. Reckless looks for the stun. He's got 1, he's got 2. They've got Baron. Fnatic lead EDG.
What a play from Fnatic. They know how strong they can be in a 5-on-5 team fight. Yellowstar was baiting it, and he goes in first. Reignover with the flank. Everyone from Fnatic collapses.
You have to be decisive when you're facing this much global pressure. And Yellowstar, the captain, the shot caller for the team, makes the play. He dodges the hook from Maiko, circles around, Reignover teleports in, and they're able to get the fight they want. Deft here, stuck in the middle, can't even click the lantern and had to flash out.
Well,
meanwhile, they've got Koro as well.
Again, this time around, Fnatic catching Koro, the straggler.
What's going on here? We just praised EDG for the coordination there. Great communication, suddenly using 3 teleports. Koro just got completely caught out for absolutely no reason. Grouping up earlier as well. Get the team out for Fnatic. They just turned this game around.
You have to be so careful when you are running a high pressure team with multiple teleports, you have to coordinate your pressure. You can't just have one person splitting while the rest of you are half your team is purchasing in base. Everyone has to coordinate their wave pushes. Bottom and top need to push at the same time. There, Coral was just pushing by himself. Nobody else from EDG applying pressure. So Fnatic collapse and they get a nice kill. With Baron buff afterwards, it means they get a whole bunch of objectives afterwards as well.
And of course, because Deft was dunked so early on, he never got to deal damage. Febiven's early advantage gives him some help. So congratulations to Fnatic. They knocked down the inner turret in the bottom lane, knocked down the inner turret in the middle lane. They may lose their top lane. Pawn has got a large minion wave to play with, has got a Lich Bane as well. So it's a 2-for-1 trade, and Fnatic are peeling backwards. Their recalls were interrupted.
This is a play EDG has pulled off quite a lot back in the LPL, but they're trying to always trade objectives. They knew, okay, we can't really defend properly. They could maybe even tower dive us if we tried to. Our only wave play is the Twisted Fate at the moment, so they use him instead just to get something. So they take a tower, but Fnatic can still be super happy with the last 5 minutes.
Especially with the Baron buff on Fnatic. So difficult to try and clear those minions. So EDG do get something back for themselves during the duration.
But that was the whole discussion we had before here. You know, what do you do with your EDG? Who do you send down to the second side lane? Because you have Fiora sitting in one of them split pushing. Do you send down Deft to sit on his own with the Jace because he doesn't offer that much wave clear in the mid lane and you want to have the Twisted Fate who can go to both lanes? Do you group them up and start poking? Again, that's so risky because of the hard engage that can happen. So they need to be able to put pressure on all 3 lanes. You can see Deft go towards top side now and set that 1-3-1 up for EDG. But they're so far back on the map. It just becomes a lot more harder now.
And because Fnatic just got such a big mid-game play, they got a whole bunch of vision while they were doing that. Not only did they take down a bunch of turrets, but with a double Sightstone for Fnatic, they've been able to lay so much vision down in EDG territory. As soon as EDG try and set up one of these plays, that does take a while to get there, Fnatic will know about it.
Look at all those wards in the bottom half of the map. Pawn did walk over that pink ward, pinged it out, and has actually gone back to kill that resource for Fnatic. And for Fnatic, Dragon's up in 5 seconds. They do have the timer. They're deciding with all their information, let's shove those waves in as best we can and try to secure at least the first objective. Only 2 Dragons at 25 minutes. It's not been a primary focus for either of these teams.
It's all been about top lane, really. So far away from Dragon, basically all the plays in the early game. This just to get to 6%. Let's see what happens. Hooni's going on Claylock.
Yep, he's caught him.
Claylock's in trouble. He's going to get headbutted out of the Cataclysm, but Hooni follows up with a great Dragon Strike.
Another pick here for Fnatic. And again, that Dragon that Fnatic got is actually fairly big because, 26 minutes into the game, the 6% does mean a lot, and it was awarded to them because they had so much deep vision from that last push. On top of it, they catch Clear Love here. EDG starting to crumble.
Yeah, they really need to stop getting caught out because every time that happens, their split push breaks. Because suddenly now you have to back away from your side lane. You have to respect the fact Fnatic are 5 members on the map. So Koro now has to go really far back. He cannot use the big wave. Fnatic can set up another slow push and then start grouping again and look for another fight.
And of course, Clear Love, this isn't the first time he's been caught out of position. Much like Hooni, throughout the group stages, both players being a little over-aggressive in their positioning, maybe too far forward. All the tempo is now sitting with Fnatic.
I just want to re-highlight, how important we talked about Thresh is in this composition. Right there was a perfect example where Clearlove should have been with Mako. That is a support jungle duo that's supposed to be getting vision because Gragas Thresh is so safe if they are together. However, no Mako there, Clearlove gets caught, he gets pushed around, and they lose more space.
Items continue to stack up. Koro's had the Ravenous Hydra versus the Titanic Hydra of Hooni. Muramana has been completed for Deft. And the 3-item spike for Reckless has come in. So everybody's scaling. Pawn's got himself that Hourglass as well. So a couple of tricky plays can be initiated with the Destiny. Fnatic playing it safe, pushing those waves out slowly but surely. Top will be going towards EDG in the next few moments. And that will give a couple of tools for Fnatic. A minute till Baron. Fnatic love Baron.
It's their thing.
I feel like EDG do as well.
Both teams often play so much around like these 25 minutes, get one fight, get a pick, and then take that Baron instant and use it to close the game out. But for EDG in these team fights, if we get the 5-on-5, who do they want to kill? Obviously, we're looking at Reckless, we're looking at Febivit. There's a cleanse on one of them. So that's very smart. That was a sacrifice by not having teleport early on. And then Kennen is one of these AD carries who feel really well for himself because he has a massive AoE aura. He can stun you if your aura goes in there with squishy targets and take them down.
Not only that, but going with this build for Reckless, it's all based around sustain and auto attack speed. So he's getting off multiple stuns, multiple charges, and you just buy a little bit of time, steal up more life because you're life stealing on all of these targets with your double life steal build. If you don't focus him and burst him down, then he'll sustain through the whole fight. He'll continue to throw out these annoying mini stuns and provide that CC that Fnatic need because they have Huni who likes to run damage in top lane.
And if we get an aggressive ulti in the backline from a Twisted Fate to lock down a target, then all 5 members of EDG are stuck in there. They're all trying to get to the same guy. 2 melee champions for Deft and Koro. Or, well, Deft when he wants to burst at least. Let's see what
Yellow
happens
Star
here.
again.
2 teleports available for EDG as their solos are down in the bottom. Double stun and Clearlove and Mako. They've already got Mako. Clearlove's looking to get away as Reckless looks for the stun. Finds it. May not get another. Continues to auto attack. 2 members down. With
Dangerous
EDG's
move,
fight,
though.
Fnatic may need to defend. Koro and Pawn, they've got an inner turret. They've got a minion wave to work with. And Fnatic, they're a little split. Huni's decided to back away. Feathervin is already in the base. And the
Can't
rest
do
of
it
the
by
team
himself.
on Baron.
Yep, he can't do it by himself. It doesn't matter. Pawn and Koro are going to be able to take this, and he's also got to be careful about getting killed. Let's see if Fnatic can take that
Huni's
Baron,
coming.
though.
Koro's in so much trouble. The Cataclysm locks them both in. And with the Chaos Storm and the Death Ray, Feathervin's already got a kill. The knockup doesn't connect, but it does not matter. 2 more
Huni
kills.
comes in to dunk while they take the Baron. Now Fnatic can press in. They should get an inhibitor off of this.
And much like the first time we saw Huni play Jarvan, he got shut down in the early game, but once we get past the laning phase, he's able to create picks with the rest of his team. But this really is Fnatic knowing how strong they are around Baron. The way they set it up, they force EDG to come face check, flank around them, get the engage once again, and they manage to constantly force team fights on EDG.
Part of the reason why quadruple global teleport comps are so rare is because they take so much precision to pull off. Quite a lofty task.
So I will admit, after watching this Jace pick from Deft, I was super hyped at first because you talked about how
I
he
know, I
played
was
it
glad we were on
cute.
it, but hasn't really shown
He's
up
really done
live.
absolutely nothing.
Meanwhile, the Kennen, huge for Reckless.
Even laning phase, completely even. Deft always used his teleport back to lane. He had no pressure on the map, really. Huni's gonna catch him.
Well, a little bit of trouble here for Pawn. Lock
him
up,
up.
not gonna happen. Pawn makes it out with 200 hit points, but Fnatic with the Baron-empowered minions, they're knocking on the middle and bottom lanes. There's a teleport to the inhibitor. Pawn is going to secure this one. He may even be able to get out alive. He's definitely been reviewing the backdoor
He has
tactics.
no minions, though,
But
at all.
Huni's got home guards, though. He's got home guards. He's coming in for the repeat dunk.
There is no Cataclysm. I think losing 1 life for supers might be worth it if the rest of EDG can defend. There's no teleport for Huni.
But
Fnatic
he was the
back up
wave
in the
clear.
base.
He was the wave clear that just disappeared to take an inhibitor, nothing else. There was no minions, so he couldn't go further and threatened to backdoor the Nexus as well. So Fnatic knew, okay, well, he's gonna get 1, but now we don't really care because he's gone. We can easily just push up. Huni's going to join his team, and that's 5 members from Fnatic. They can dive EDG super easy.
Cataclysm's only a few seconds away, but this tower is down. It has been deconstructed in front of EDG's faces. The second inhibitor falls, and there are supers on 2 lanes for Fnatic. This is the single lane for EDG.
I do not think that was worth it. Just even if he traded 1-for-1 in terms of inhibitors, because Huni could even have stayed with his team and just went straight for EDG.
If you look at that gold difference, when teams have had a gold lead at 20 minutes at the World Championship, they have an 89% win ratio. Currently, Fnatic's looking to be the 11%. They've turned the game around after 1 successful team fight. 1 misstep from EDG.
Well, these
swung it completely
EDG are
Fnatic's
running,
favor.
as we said, such a delicate team composition that takes so much precision. If you make that one mid-game mistake, we saw how heavily Fnatic were able to punish them for it. Huge, huge swing.
Trinity Force completed for Deft. Another thing he's done quite a lot on this Jace, and it's somewhat weird because he gets it so late in the game, it normally doesn't do much. Like 30 attack damage, 32 minutes in is not a massive upgrade for a very expensive item. but it seems to be more he wants the movement speed from it. He wants the Sheen proc to get a little bit more burst.
Yeah.
But he can never really go in hammer form against this Fnatic lineup because they want him to jump in with the rest of the team. So they have Kennen AoE, Victor AoE, Alistar knock off everything to just take down these squishy targets. So I don't really agree with his Trinity Force buy.
Pawn has realized the error of his ways, joined the rest of EDG to wave clear under this turret. Baron has worn out, so Fnatic are waiting for those supers. They're pushing through the middle lane quite deep. Unfortunately for Fnatic, there's going to be multiple supers in the bottom lane pushing against him, so there is a little bit of a timer working against this top lane siege.
Yeah, right now, EDG are hoping that Fnatic stick around and are a little bit too aggressive, because EDG's only chance here is to make an all-in at the turret, whereas Fnatic can just wait around. They've got all the cards.
We'll see when they reveal them, Kobe. Another minion wave has danced its way up to this top tower. How quickly Pawn can clear them. Melees are down to half hit points. Rekkles gets chunked. Gold card comes out and clearlove has found him. Rekkles gets pushed backwards and he's shut down by Def. This could be the team fight that turns it around. 2 members of Fnatic are down for only clearlove from EDG. Featherfin's forced to retreat. The double kill will be added to Koro's score. Fnatic lose 4.
EDG do it. They pull off the only thing that they possibly could, an all-in under the turret. And they, well, can they chase down Forbidden here? It looks like Koro's going to be able to...
Look at all the minions on the bottom side here. There's double teleport for EDG if they want to take that wave and start pushing in towards them. They want the kill first and then try and go maybe and finish the game.
Well, Featherfin needs to buy time. There's 20 seconds before his teammates are alive. And if EDG are unlucky, they will be able to take him down, but the supers may not be able to be enough. Slicing Maelstrom still available.
Yeah,
so
5 seconds left on Rekkles. I think they're okay.
Right here for Fnatic, they got a little bit too greedy for that tower. Rekkles walked up very close, 550 range, took a massive hit in the face from Deft, and then the flash forward. There's no cleanse for him, no QSS, nothing to save him. That was EDG needed. They invested everything to kill him.
They just dropped all the cards. Everybody up on the turret is exactly as you said, and then Pawn, right after seeing the poke land, Pawn goes in for the flash gold card on Rekkles. That's a signal. Clearlove flashes in, and they're able to take him out immediately.
So key that Clearlove flashes forward. Otherwise, Yellowstar might have been able to just headbutt him away and avoid Rekkles being shot back into the team, but he flashes forward there. He guarantees it's going to happen. They win the fight.
Exactly. They knew this was their only hope. Then all in at that turret. They've got 2 inhibitors down, super minions coming, and they came up clutch, made a big play. Fnatic still definitely in the driver's seat, still definitely with a huge lead here, but EDG clawing back.
And as we come out of that replay, Rekkles has completed the Quicksilver Sash.
He learned.
How different that fight could have been. This time around, Rekkles gets dunked and deals no damage that fight, thanks to the great work of Pawn, Koro, and Clearlove. Fnatic, their 10k gold lead has shrunk to 4k, and inhibitors will be respawning very soon for EDG, so this will reset the map pressure.
Yeah, Baron's up in 20 seconds though, so Fnatic are going to try and grab the scuttle and work on vision around this area.
They have teleport ready for Huni, so he can stay on the bottom side and always control that wave with the super minions coming in case someone for EDG pushes it back. And as long as you bait around Baron, it's so easy to go push out top and mid lanes at the same time for Fnatic. So this will nullify the globals a little bit from EDG and make it easier for Fnatic to get a 5-on-5 team fight. We even saw Huni with Home Guard sitting and waiting in base and just saying, oh,
yeah, he's going back to
again.
Fountain right now.
He knows there are going to be wards behind EDG and he wants to guarantee that engage.
This is the most intense moment for the shot callers. This is where you make or break the game.
There's no room for mechanical misplays.
Every second means Pawn gets closer and closer to that bottom inhibitor as well. And Fnatic can't make up their minds. Rainover goes back and he's left the tunnel. They're going to commit.
Death Sentence finds Yellowstar, and the Baron's being bursted so quickly. Pawn has started to channel his TP, but it may be too late. 2,500 hit points on Baron. Will it get secured by a Fnatic? And it does. The knockup finds 2. The dunk finds 4. And the Maelstrom melts Edward Gaming, sending a massive message that Fnatic want to win the first game in this series. Koro and Def are running for their lives, and they will get run down. Def will drop the hammer, but it will not matter. Rekkles gets the kill, 9, 2, and 4, and Fnatic should knock down the Nexus.
EDG unable to use their split push because of the Baron, and you saw Yellowstar sit ready to headbutt Clearlove away, so he couldn't get close. He had to just try and throw in his ulti. Wasn't enough, and Fnatic are looking to take the first game.
Fnatic have got Baron-empowered minions knocking down the Nexus. Koro will follow shortly, and as Edward Gaming are aced, Fnatic take the advantage and are one step closer to a semi-final spot.
Great decisive mid-game there from Fnatic. Yellowstar and Co making a huge turnaround.
And that is so key for Fnatic because they were on blue side in this game here. Every single team in playoffs, they picked the blue side. So it's supposed to be the stronger one. They get the first win on it. They had some target bans coming in this time.
Yep.
Obviously, we had EDG banning the Mordekais and Gangplank against Fnatic. They can change that for the next game. Maybe look towards Rainover even more and say, Lee's and Rek'Sai, we're gonna remove both of them from your pool.
So, AD carry Jace definitely did not work out
It
as
gets a
intended.
1 out of 10 in this game.
But let's also be honest, it was not
The judgment
necessarily...
Denmark here is harsh. I'll
Maybe
One
not
out of 10.
necessarily the reason they lost, because if they had not grouped and given up the lead at 23 minutes, played the map a little smarter...
Sure. Two very key things happened. First of all, Fnatic realized we don't have to try and make plays in the early game against all the globals.
Yeah.
So like they saved the cooldowns, flashes and everything to try and stay alive for as long as possible and always just chip away in the towers. And then, as you said, EDG were like, guys, we're winning because we're split pushing. Let's group. Let's go around mid lane and see what happens and instant engage Baron.
So here's one of the reasons why I just like the AD Kennen so much more as far as these novelty AD carry picks, because it's so important to have a safe AD carry that can lane and get CS while your support roams. Support roaming is so big here at the World Championship. Not the finals yet, at the World Championships. And we've seen the teams get punished so heavily for it already when, you know, Mako and Clearlove are separated. Big things happen for Fnatic.
And they made it happen, found the opportunity. Fnatic take the advantage in the series. We're going to head over to the analyst desk and standing by to take a look at that game.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm joined here by Jat and Freak to break down that very first game of Fnatic versus EDG. Whew, what a game it was. A fantastic game. Let's just start with that.
Absolutely. I mean, there were so many cool things going on here. We got to see triple teleport come out. That was interesting for sure. We got to see some really tenacious calls as well. The 21-minute semi-ace where Yellowstar makes the right call to go for Baron because the chance of a steal is actually quite low. A lot of very, very smart choices made this game.
A lot of stuff. So let's start by the early game and the picks that came out. Obviously the Jace AD carry, but maybe more surprising, all of the teleports. How did EDG use that to their advantage in the early game?
Yeah, so interestingly enough for EDG, the Jace teleport never actually teleported to make a positive play, so it played out mostly like a double teleport team with Twisted Fate, which still had a global advantage, and they mainly used the teleport bottom to try and keep map pressure on that side. You would have actually expected Fnatic to attack the teleporting AD carry since he had no second defensive summoner a little bit more early on in the game, but because that wasn't happening, EDG kept finding numbers advantages throughout the rest of the map.
And something for Fnatic, sorry to cut in, which is a change from sometimes the overconfident plays we see them making in the past couple of weeks. When it happened a couple of times that they got dove on with a couple of teleports, the next time they were careful and they waited it out.
I mean, yes and no. We actually saw a lot of kind of bad plays. There was the kill that was initially off screen and the replay happened. Rainover chasing into a 1v2 under his own turret after Huni already got dived. Rainover's like, me too, I'll give you some kills. And the Koreans on Fnatic started out like 2-7 total or something like that. And a lot of that, to be honest, not to blame Huni for this one, but he picked himself into a bad one-on-one matchup. Jarvan's never gonna 1v1 Fiora, to my knowledge, but for the team fight, it makes a whole lot of sense, be a follow-up CC. So picking for the team fight rather than the lane, EDG correctly identified to attack the lane in the laning phase because it's going to work, and sure enough it did. But then the team fight's exactly what Fnatic picked for. Those did work out.
Yeah, and let's take a look at one of those team fights that swung the game back in the favor of Fnatic when they grouped up and, well, showed what they could do versus that EDG composition. We can roll the clip.
Yeah, and this is Fnatic only having one teleport and using it aggressively, but it's exactly the type of team fight that they're picking. The Alistar, Victor, Rek'Sai, lots of these AoE CCs, as well as the Kennen who can jump in here. Deft did not do damage in this fight. I think we saw afterwards it was something like 176, burns both summoners and still dies. But this giant cluster of particles are mainly good for Fnatic because most people are stunned inside Reckless's Kennen ultimate. Every time Fnatic could successfully group, they had the superior teamfight composition because Pawn was never set up properly. They couldn't poke very well with depth. And the aggression of Fnatic in between the windows of being exploited by EDG's global compositions are ultimately what won them the game. And as Freak was saying earlier, this was an incredibly smart Baron call.
Right, so the only guys alive are Mako and Pawn, and Yellowstar, look at him. He's gonna realize that, look, I just need to buy some time, make sure my team doesn't get AoE, so he happily walks into that. He doesn't really care. The rest of Fnatic off take it properly, then just a very good re-engage. It's a 1 versus 3. You're pretty much never gonna win a fight like that. Not a lot of damage comes out of Thresh. You know, that's good stuff there. I do want to highlight one small thing in the beginning of the team fight, though. Def did not seem like he was all that used to playing with teleport because he
teleported
right
like
here.
an inch
He
next to
TP'd
him.
on a lantern because he's used to that button being summoner heal. And I know I've like tried to run exhaust AD carry before and like done nothing with it. Like that happens sometimes, and he clearly hasn't played it enough to have the right muscle memory in a team fight.
Yeah, and there we see Fnatic huddling, of course. Need to keep calm, only 1 victory. They need to get 3 if they want to win this best of 5, but good signs for them. As we look a little bit more into the game, of course, those teleports that were very useful for EDG early, they give them kind of an insurance when it went awry in the late game, because whenever they do win a fight, they could put the pressure on the base. We have a team fight from later in the game where Fnatic sets to pressure on the top turret of EDG. We're going to take a look at that, and oversteps their boundaries.
Yeah, well, I think this was an example of EDG controlling the people who were winning the fights for Fnatic. Reckless basically gets zeroed out in this fight. And it was, in my opinion, a lot of the Kennen ultimate, which was creating the ability to follow up for the rest of Fnatic. So in this one, it's mainly just Fnatic getting too aggressive at this turret. They have 2 inhibitors down, so they could have actually been a lot more patient with this until the minions were nearing the Nexus, but instead Pawn gets a good flash, and right as soon as that stun lands, the rest of EDG just piles on really well.
It's just a really good chain of engage. Clear love with the knockback in. Reckless never gets to do anything, of course. He's not going for the Zhonya's Hourglass, so the R Zhonya's that he had a window for can't happen. And Koro honestly navigated these team fights beautifully. He's against a big team of AoE crowd control and still finds ways to turn on the ultimate, proc all 4 vitals, get a big heal, where if the team doesn't get one shot, 700 health floods back into the team, and EDG wins those fights.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about this game, though, was the willingness of both teams to pick fights. The bloodiness in this game was really high. We were nearing a kill per minute by the end of it, which is higher than, by far higher than the average at Worlds, and also higher than the average from the LPL or the European LCS. And I actually think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that from these teams just out of the picks from game 1. Huni very willing to pick an aggressive choice, very willing to opt into weaknesses to get advantages elsewhere. So we're seeing a lot of mismatches just based on the coaching and picks and bans, which always leads to more interesting games.
Yeah, maybe to close this off, we did see the teleport strat in game 1 coming out of EDG. Will they completely overhaul that strategy? Would you?
I mean, maybe. Honestly, like, Def's teleport meant very little.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to take Gromp and TP in for some wards and extra potions. And his 2-on-2, despite facing a, fairly scary duo lane, got to get back and get more farm, but that teleport meant basically nothing. It was a comp we've seen the entire time of the tournament. TP mid laner, no surprise. TF, no surprise. Defs meant very little.
Yeah, I think double TP is the thing we're going to continue to see. I don't think triple TP is the thing we're going to continue to see, and I expect Def to pick more to win the lane. I think he can punish Reckless's Kennen if he continues to go for that pick. He's been practicing a lot of Caitlyn, which is something we saw yesterday, and has a very favorable matchup against the Kennen if they can manipulate that lane matchup. So I think that's what we're going to see from EDG in the next game.
Yeah, a lot of tools to work with from both sides, but it was a fantastic game 1. We're going to step away for 1 second or a couple of minutes actually, but when we come back, it's going to be game 2 between Edward Gaming and Fnatic for that spot in the semifinal. More World 2015 coming your way right after this.
It was awesome.
I was trying to look for the goal, we did it also. I couldn't find.
Martin the Heartbreaker.
Onto the tunnel from behind. Huni throws down the Demacian standard. And the Dragon Strike. And it's first blood to Featherfin. Pawn's in so much trouble. Yellowstar needs to hit his combo. Flashes for the knock-up. Headbutts Pawn backwards. Mako saves him. And EDG decimate Fnatic.
Jeff and back, Jeff and back. Yep. Rush. Base. JCQ. Good job, guys. Really good job.
And he's shut down by Def. This could be the team fight that turns it around. 2 members of Fnatic are down for only clear love from EDG. The knockup finds 2. The dunk finds 4. And the Maelstrom melts Edward Gaming. Fnatic are 1 step closer to a semi-final spot. Thank you very much, Dash, and the rest of the analyst desk. As we do get into picks and bans, I do want to take a moment to clarify the situation and where we find ourselves. The issue that appeared in-game prevented Rainover from casting the Gragas Q spell. And the refereeing team, they did investigate and exhaust every single option to resolve the issue in-game, including allowing Gragas to die and attempt to resolve the matter. After the issue remained, Fnatic was then offered the opportunity to remake, which they accepted. That is, as per the rules, the remake will now include new picks and bans because team strategies were revealed, including playstyle. Gragas will remain enabled because of the popularity of the champion on the current patch, but we will state right now, if the bug does reappear, the champion will be disabled for the remainder of the tournament. So that is something just to keep in mind.
We can only apologize. It's a very rare bug.
It is, and we can only apologize to the teams, to everybody watching. The remake will be starting shortly with picks and bans. So let's shake this off and talk about Mordekaiser and, in my opinion, GP. Do we think teams are going to allow both of these champions to once again go through picks and bans?
Well, I mean, we saw from Fnatic, their bans were Lulu, Kalista, Tahm, Kench. If they want to do that again, I want to see Tahm, Kench, and Kalista being banned first and have that Lulu as the potential bait against EDG. But I also think for EDG, they saw the Gangplank, they saw the kite composition being built by Fnatic, so they knew, or now they know, Fnatic has an answer to the Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and I think that if they did leave the Lulu up, then EDG would have changed their first pick and actually would have first picked the GP instead and not taken the Mordekaiser. You know, Mordekaiser into GP and Lulu is kind of ridiculous.
So, Fnatic...
But there she finds herself on the ban list already.
Yeah, Kennen as well for EDG. They banned Elise and then they banned Sivir last time around. Obviously, that is what left Mordekaiser and GP open, and for now, it is exactly the same. Fnatic now do not want to ban one of the two OPs. Oh, now they will, because Mordekaiser got banned. So now GP is what you want to ban away if you are Fnatic, and say, we don't want to risk it, but that does leave Tahm Kench open.
For Fnatic to potentially pick?
Well, for you. I'm not expecting a Tahm Kench first pick.
Last game was Rek'Sai, first pick, when Elise was off the table.
I mean, Fnatic got to make the decision now. Do we have a composition we want to run against the Gangplank? Then we ban the Tahm Kench now. We give them first pick.
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can give away Gangplank without getting one back.
Been super risky, at least. But again, this is a team that is not afraid of taking chances. Rek'Sai would be the obvious first pick. Tahm Kench, yes, he's fantastic, but it does require a composition where it makes sense to pick him into.
Sound like a bit of a fanboy there, Deficio, of that champion. Fnatic now have the option to pick in two of their preferred. Hyper carries are still up and available, the likes of Jinx. And go over the tower pushing power of Tristana. Cannon away. Sivir's available. Fnatic could go Sivir and support.
So are Jinx and Caitlyn, which was also mentioned as being practiced by Deft fairly recently.
If you are Fnatic now, you might say we want to take some safe picks. We don't want to show too much. Then you go for Gragas here for Reno and say we want to see more of your picks before we start building a composition. Or you take some of the safer top lanes we have seen being blind picked, Darius and Fiora and so on, for Huni up there. But he's shown he wants to play different kinds of top lanes.
And I would like to combo that Gragas with the Thresh if you are trying to try and keep your first round without giving much away. There is the Kenchi. All right, we got the Kench into Flame Chompers combo.
You get your Tahm
I'm
Kench.
so happy. The only problem is it's like 3 weeks too late. And if I go on one of my Kobe rants on Tahm Kench, then people just
get
annoyed.
The thing is, I stole your notes anyway, and I already said everything you had prepared.
But everybody wants to hear the Kobe rant, so we'll see how practiced Yellowstar is on this champion, because we've seen him.
He played it before it was cool.
But it wasn't good.
Before it was buffed.
But it wasn't good.
Okay,
it really was not good.
But
they lost that game.
He now had 4 more weeks or 5 weeks to practice even more. I think Jinx Tahm Kench is one of the best combos you can pick, because it gives Jinx that extra mobility in the late game that she needs to survive these team fights, and also in the laning phase, it's very hard to all in on a Jinx when Tahm Kench is next to her. He basically just makes almost every lane a farm lane because he stops that all in from happening. Could be there.
There's the. Well, I was looking at the Caitlyn already for the other side here, picked up by Def. Like we said, he's been practicing it fairly recently. We'll see if they actually end up in that 2 versus 2, because Caitlyn can try and bully them off. Jinx can switch to Rockets, though, and actually trade. So it definitely will be determined by the support pick.
Well, what do we have seen so far from teams when they play against Tahm Kench, because it's so fairly new? They pick some all-in comps, like, oh, we're going to play like an Annie Kalista lane, and we're going to try and all-in the AD carry. Tahm Kench eats in and says, no, that's not going to happen. Caitlyn, on the other hand, is a lane where you're going to push and push and push all the time. I think that's way better against Tahm Kench because he doesn't offer any sustain for his AD carry outside of Relic Shield. So poke them down, poke them, poke them. Don't all in. That's what Caitlyn offers.
And we're going to see the Riven for Huni. Fembevin will secure Gragas once more for Rainover.
Interesting with the top lane carry here into the Fiora. This is going to be such an interesting skill match between Riven and Fiora. Once again, though, I think there may be a lane swap brewing.
I think there's a good chance we see Morgana as well, and us instantly just locked in here.
This is what we were also talking about. When you have Caitlyn going for that siege, you want to combo it with something in the mid lane that really, really supplements the siege. And Veigar, we've already seen it many times by specifically the North American teams putting in a lot of time on that. But Pawn has been practicing it heavily in solo queue, and EDG will try, group up early, knock down the outer turrets, but also, while they're knocking down the outer turrets, fish for that binding, fish for that cage to try and get that pick. And yes, Tahm Kench can eat somebody out of a binding, but the cage blocks off a huge zone.
Still, Tahm Kench, to me, is a very, very good Veigar counter due to the fact he can remove that one-shot potential from happening.
Burst.
However, EDG are not looking necessarily to one-shot someone. They're looking to zone you off your tower and take your tower.
It's about the area that you can control.
You cannot eat the tower. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Have you tried?
That was in your notes, Kobe, so I trust you now.
Well, Febevin's got a couple seconds left to lock in his counter. He's had great performances on LeBlanc, and we'll see whether or not he can get some early pressure against Veigar.
Here's the one thing. While I'm a huge Tahm Kench fan, he is not the all-in-one tank. He is not a hard engage tank. So it's actually fairly risky for you to try and engage with Tahm Kench and use the Abyssal Voyage. It's much better at cutting people off and sort of corralling people into a direction to control with the rest of your team.
This is a very mixed composition for Fnatic.
Yeah.
You got the Riven split push coming in, you want to assassinate someone with LeBlanc, and you want to have these big kiting team fights with the Jinx Tahm Kench. So it's a bit of everything for them. The problem is if they want a 1-3-1, Jinx wave clear in the mid lane. Again, she needs to get in there with the rockets. She can't clear really far away from.
Yeah, the thing is, I want to reiterate this one more time. It's a bit of everything except for a really hard engage. They would have to have Flash with Riven or some crazy Gragas ultimate, because if Tahm Kench Abyssal Voyage into the back line, he gets stunned with whoever he brings.
And he wants to be in the back with his AD carry.
Exactly. If you put up the cage, you can stun them both. He can't save anyone if he's stunned as well. He has to get his own Merc Treads. He has to get some sort of QSS or Mikhail's or something to pull that off.
Luckily on the side of Fnatic, they have shown a penchant for engaging at the right time in the right place, and they'll need to keep that up. Guys, this is the remade game 2 of this best of 5. Hashtag EDG win with that Veigar mid, or hashtag FNC win. The Yellow Star will get his hands on the Tahm Kench. Vision and flanking going to be so important for Fnatic. They've done it in the past when Huni has played Riven. They've shown they have an ability to get him to TP into the jungle and hop over walls. And they may need to do that again to get behind that baby cage that Veigar can put down.
Yeah, the early game is so key in this matchup. When you have a siege composition, if they do well in the laning phase and get to rotate the AD carry into mid and start this siege on your tower, there's often very few answers other than like a TP flank happening. If that fails, you fall so far behind. But the same can be said for EDG here with their comp. If they start losing lanes to Riven and LeBlanc, the crazy pick potential for Fnatic can just run over them.
And this is the thing, Jinx can take a turret very quickly, so Fnatic can trade objectives fairly efficiently as well. Face checking here.
This is
Get
risky.
The deep wards they've been seeing coming in.
And Fnatic did a similar thing in the previous game. EDG have adapted.
They're gonna get Reckless and Yellow Star.
Oh, it's got to pay off.
Tremor Sense is showing 2 members of Fnatic nearby. EDG very, very patient.
They saw the ping on 2 guys with the Rek'Sai, so they know it's not 5 members running from Fnatic, but EDG is still
A brush with death there.
not gonna pull the trigger.
And they escape.
Fnatic get
Maybe they
deep
I don't
wards
know.
down. They know the wards are in place, so EDG,
I want to shout out to my boy Freak.
are they going to look for the lane swap, or will they use the warding information to dance around the
Okay,
pigeon?
so basically, yeah, as you just said here, they want to dance around where the wards are being placed. It's often the same ward placement you see when these invades happen. 3 of them down to block every entrance towards the lane, so Fnatic didn't spot them. sneak up there. But so it's going to be a 2v2 top. Huni gets his one-on-one down the bottom lane as well. So we have these insanely snowballing matchups between a Fiora and a Riven, where the first gank can basically decide the entire early to mid game between these two guys.
Meanwhile, look at this huge advantage here. Tahm Kench absolutely annihilates Krugs there with the giant AoE, and they're going to be a camp up. Caitlyn likes to start shoving the wave though, so Def tried to get there as soon as possible, auto-attacking the wave. You charge up your headshot every time, obviously your headshot is charged up. Look for your harass trade. Mako lands the first binding, but Yellow Star says nope.
We're going to see that a lot, I feel.
Yes. Def and Mako are more looking just to poke with the double range against them than all-inning. What you normally could do with Caitlyn Morgana is you land the binding, follow up with a trap, and someone is stuck for such a long time. Another small thing, notice here Rainover, he started on the top side of the map, so he's going to path down towards the bottom side. That's going to apply pressure on Koro if he's going to push his lane.
Yep, it's all about that minion wave control up top. When you have control as a Caitlyn lane, especially with Morgana at your back, you can be extremely aggressive, just like Huni.
Really bad trade by Koro right here. He walks in into stun range of Huni, then uses his block basically for nothing. It's an instant ability, obviously, for Huni with the stun. You have to be super, super, super quick on a Fiora.
Exactly.
Close to impossible for him to pull off here, and he really failed it big time.
Koro's backed, picked up some wards, and a pot is now under CS from Huni, but the wave is pushing towards Koro, so Huni gonna be needing to overextend, but luckily Clearlove is on the complete opposite end of the map.
Yeah, even though that trade evens up teleports, Huni's got such an experience advantage here working with it. He will also probably be able to go up and clear out that pink ward that Koro placed in the tri-bush. So that while the giant wave is there, so that would be some extra value added. Pretty deep ward here on the Wraith camp as well. Clearlove was able to get a little bit of deep vision over on Rainover's side, and that will be the next camp that Rainover goes to. So EDG will have information on Rainover's whereabouts fairly shortly.
Well, we get a good start for Huni in the bottom lane. Top, again, is what we mentioned, how you can keep pushing it in. If you are the Caitlyn Morgana lane, just keep trading. 2v1 against both Tahm Kench and then the Jinx, and it's hard then to reply if you are a Fnatic. And really also with this Morgana pick, it's funny because a lot of these champions for EDG that haven't shown before in this tournament, they have been spamming them in solo queue. Morgana was there for Mako, Caitlyn for Def, FLICKR as well in the mid lane, and this is gonna happen over and over. And Rek is a little bit confused.
Small miss, small miss. Aim small, miss small. We'll see if Reckless can find his aim later on. Rainova spotting Clearlove in the jungle will give some information. Huni actually gets caught up by that riposte.
Another matchup I want to touch on is that mid lane because Veigar is such a game changer. If you allow him to stack up early, and the only way to disallow him from stacking up early is to force him to trade in lane and go for those aggressive moves here. Forbidden on LeBlanc, on the Assassin, has the ability to do that and try and go aggressively. You can see already, Pawn even expends his early teleport in mid lane defensively just to pick up more magic resistance so that he can try and use more of his mana for stacking up the ability power.
Reckless is playing Let's Catch the Dark Binding game. Almost every time we peek our eyes up here, Reckless is being saved by Yellow Star. That mana pool slowly burning away. And of course, Reckless losing out on CS. Huni is now once again going aggressive. Trying to use those broken wings to his advantage, and Koro sidesteps the second proc, does not sidestep the third. The shield comes up from Huni, and the key strike will at least delay the rest of that trade.
Fnatic needs to do something about the top lane, though. Even though they're not dying, they're down in CS, and their tower is already taking about 40% damage up there, because again, if you keep pushing it down, Huni's trying his best on the bottom side, but Clearlove is showing now.
Yeah, you say that though, but as a jungler, it's really difficult to gank a heavy poking lane that's got your lane under turret because of the minion advantage and because of the distance that you have to gain. Meanwhile, when solo laners trade like this, there's blood in the water. Junglers are like sharks.
Sure.
You're attracted very heavily by melee champions in long solo lanes trading like this.
And I don't think Fnatic necessarily had to go top to make a play. I think they need to make a play elsewhere on the map to force EDG's hand and say, we are now winning on the other side, so if you keep this 2v2 lane going for too long, our top laner will snowball ahead of yours, and that can force EDG then to make a trade and swap it around and stop this push from going on.
Clearlove's Tremor Sense just caught some footsteps from Rainover as he approached that tri-bush. So information is available. You can see Feathervin's also left his lane. If Koro sticks around, they're going for a dive.
And this is what I like. Now Fnatic are saying, we're going to snowball Huni even further. So EDG, you cannot just sit in 2v2 top because your top lane will fall behind. Clearlove has spotted it. We have a roam from Vega as well. 3 guys on bottom side soon.
Koro, he does have his grand challenge. He's used it on the level 4 Reignover. Flash away from Koro keeps him alive. Huni will take a turret shot for his troubles. Clearlove able to thwart the gank at the cost of Ignite for Flash and time in the mid lane from Febiven.
Yeah, and now Hunia here is actually going to have to back off. He's got 3 people there. Even though that was an unsuccessful gank as far as coming up with a kill, Koro's going to have to expend his teleport once again. So you talk about, doing something about this top side. There's a deep ward here in the brush. Huni may have teleport advantage if Koro feels pressured enough to use it to get back to lane again. And the way the Fnatic, made their stamp, made their name with big Huni teleport plays, there could be an opportunity. The ward is expired.
Just died.
I took too long talking about it, and Koro took too long teleporting back.
The point is still valid.
Really key though
if they could get another ward.
For EDG, that Rek'Sai was sitting in that bush or in the jungle of Fnatic, spotted, of course, Reignover moving down. So they knew, okay, the dive is about to happen. LeBlanco's missing in the mid lane, and that's why they could react and defend Koro. Otherwise, it would have been a 3v1, and he would have died super quick.
I have to say, though, this top lane CS of the duo lanes is just outstanding. Deft is destroying Reckless and Yellow Star up in the top side. Really punishing.
And this was why EDG was sitting in the bush, hiding at level 1. Didn't want to risk going for an all-lane and try and get it first, but they wanted to dodge around the wards to try and force a 2v2 lane with Caitlyn. She's one of these champions, if she doesn't get the 2v2, it gets to be bullied. She becomes so useless in the mid game and just have very low impact before she hits the late game items. So this was exactly what EDG wanted for that lane.
And EDG seem quite happy to play for the long game. Pawn's first pickup is Mercury Treads at 9 minutes. He's held onto his TP, but Reignover, he's found Mako. Mako, this is brave. Abyssal Voyage will allow Yellow Star to get in range of Mako. Will they flash over? No. Happy to get the flash out of Morgana.
Okay, so while EDG are winning the duo lane, Fnatic are destroying the solo lane on the other side of the map, the long lane with Huni here. And that is extremely volatile because Riven has so much kill pressure. I would expect, again, more jungler attention down there, because if you can free up that solo laner, then you free up a teleport gank. A jungler ganking is one thing, but if I had solo laner ganking with a teleport, can completely turn around and destroy a 2 versus 2 lane.
It's basically been the reason their aggressive 2v2 lanes have kind of died out, because if you do go all in, enemy top laner comes in from behind and kills you, and it suddenly backfires completely because of all the teleports in the game. There's a lot of the very aggressive AD carries that are a little bit unhappy with that state because they want to be able to kill that lane 2v2, but that's not happening very often in this meta.
Fnatic right now setting up towards this bottom lane. Again, Feathervin and Reignover showing face. Huni's got a minion wave to play with, and I think they're going to turn their attention onto Koro. He's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Grand challenge comes down, body slam connects. Koro will get dropped, and it's first blood to Fnatic, but Pawn will teleport in and get himself one back. Huni's on the way out. Will have that broken wing slash to get more. Huni does get dropped by Clearlove. It's a messy fight so far, 2 for 2, and it's jungler on mid lane action. Feathervin with double buff, gets a triple kill. Gets out.
Again, Fnatic, they return to the point of power, try and make the proactive play there. And again, Huni's teleports up. Look, a deep ward in the side brush. Huni revives in 10 seconds. He could teleport right up there and try and turn that around. There's no flash on Morgana because they caught her out in the jungle.
And again, this is exactly what Fnatic wants to do. When you have a losing lane, one side of the map, you gotta make plays on the other side. You can't gank the one. They go for Koro, 3 guys moving down. EDG once again, they read the situation, but they're reacting a lot later because they didn't see Fnatic as early as they did before with the first dive. Featherman plays one really well. He knows he can take down Clearlove in the end, so stays very close and almost baits him to just stay and fight him.
Man,
solo away the last auto.
Jungler, that's not fair.
Managed to make it work. Featherman completes his Sorcerer Shoes and Morellonomicon. 30 CS advantage for Huni and a level advantage, but no teleport top just yet.
With the deep wards here as well by Fabivin. This one on the red. It's one of the great things about Tahm Kench as well. My first experience with them was meeting one in solo queue and double counter jungling the enemy. Tahm Kench can devour something while activating his Q. Oh, here we go for another move.
Maybe just to farm and defend tower.
Do they have a Huni teleport? There's so many wards for Huni to teleport on. And he shoved him in. Looks like they're going to dive first.
Seems to me like Huni doesn't want to waste time.
They're going to dive the dive bottom again first.
He's going for Koro. He's in trouble. The chain. Wow.
Okay, now he's free to go up top.
Okay, 3 times now. When is he going top, Kobe?
I don't know. My stories have all fallen flat so far today. I'm not.
To be fair, if you are Huni and Fnatic, do you want to go and try and save a losing lane already?
Yeah,
or do you want to just keep killing
Look at
your
them.
lane opponent?
They're going to get dove right now.
Well, they can just back away, give up this tower. Obviously, EDG is looking to swap Def now down to the bottom side and push another one. But that's where Fnatic are looking out to create picks with the Rivet, with the LeBlanc. We see how much they're roaming between the lanes. And every time EDG is stuck pushing away for both Morgana and Caitlyn, someone else on the map is dying. So far, it's been Coral.
Yeah. Little misstep from Pawn as he misses 2 of the 4.
So in the end, the real difference there is just the kills that our Fnatic are picking up here, because they were able to get that turret on top for EDG. It's just that, Huni's actually going to get the one down bottom and continue to push here. They also have such deep wards in the red side jungle to support Huni's split push.
That could be key, Kobe, because Huni, once he goes top side now, can TP down, because we know Deft is going to push this wave. He's already pinged the tower.
So when you say it, it's going to happen.
I say it this time. So many wards
always has to be right. Favorven's looking to clear this pink ward out, and Clearlove is just like, peace, nope, do not want none of that. Huni grabs a Scuttle Crab, a little bit of vision, and Reckless and Yellow Star. Uncontested, this is a free tower, in fact, as EDG have sent their resources down bottom.
Not exactly what EDG were looking for here. They wanted to have Coral on this top side already, but obviously him alone wouldn't have done a whole lot.
Yeah, it's another trade they're just opting for. Bottom side should be taken at the same time as well here for EDG.
But when you play that Caitlyn, you are supposed to get the tower advantage by you being able to push faster than push in the enemy AD carry and slowly take down the tower. Obviously, Jinx will take down the tower super quick once she gets to it.
Yeah, but they're not done pushing. EDG continue to pressure the inner turret. There are recalls from Fnatic.
Yellowstar can ult it down, remember.
And Huni's got teleport with a lot of wards to jump in. But they're opting not to pull that trigger yet. The range on Abyssal is still relatively low, and I think Yellowstar's peeling towards the middle top quadrant, so no more pressure on the bottom half.
EDG did get the 2 side lane turrets down. That's what you want to do with these siege comps here, especially when you play the Veigar. You want him to hit level 11, you group together with him in the mid lane, and you start sieging on that tower, because even if there is some sort of wave clear for Fnatic, that massive zone that Veigar is going to offer is going to force you back, and that's going to always give some damage to this tower. So Faber needs to be careful now. He knows a lot of people are coming, and he's the only wave in his mid lane. He has to dash into them. That's super risky.
Yeah, that's why we'll be looking for the flank, because again, this Fnatic squad has to be very careful with how they go about engaging. Huni needs to work with the fog of war. Riven is all about the flashy plays, you know, coming in very quickly with the dash. So once Huni's flash comes back up, then maybe they'll look for one of those plays.
At least you need to have teleport ready, and when you know the siege is going to start happening, you need to have put wards in advance. So you have wards on the side of the mid lane. You can see the 2 here near the mid lane tower of EDG. That's something Fnatic could use to stop a potential siege from happening. And Huni, all in again, he's 2 levels above.
Yeah, big difference. That Bee of Sword helping out. I think got a pretty good riposte there, but it doesn't matter. Huni's got such a strong advantage. Just hit a 3-level lead for the time being, and as my math is completely horrible, it's 50, 60 CS advantage for Huni. And Reckless is even caught up in the bottom lane.
All right, well, let's see if he plays a bit more safe here. Definitely into his third. He should be fine. The other important factor in controlling vision, Deficio, that you point out, these mid laners, either one could one-shot the other if you're in the fog of war. So either one has the ability to 100% if you get that vision advantage. So there's going to be such a fight over the true sight, especially around these mid.
And a fight in top again.
Cora's going low. Huni, that's a good pass trading. And Huni follows up. But they support Clearlove and Pawn want to chase him down, and they will not.
A little bit hyped about the flash. In the end, it didn't do anything, and it died anyway. Look good though.
Deficio, you sucked all the energy out. Yellowstar and Febervin get caught by the Event Horizon, and Pawn gets knocked into the waiting hands. The Super Mega Death Rocket signs his death warrant, and EDG are on the retreat. They've lost 2. They're mid-tower, and Fnatic are sieging the inner turret. It's not over yet. Teleport's coming in. Koro wants to play. The exhaust onto Febervin will keep his damage down and keep Deft alive and keep their tower alive for Boots.
So what's been happening in this mid lane here for Fnatic is that Febervin had full control of the lane. He keeps pushing it down, making it very easy for Fnatic to keep deep vision in the jungle and set up a dive like this and prevent EDG from ever grouping.
Honestly, what's happening is Huni wrecking Koro.
That's also happening. That's also happening. But look at the dive they can set up because they have all the control of this jungle onto. Beautiful setup, honestly, from Rain over him.
Yeah.
What do you do as a Veigar right here? Either you flash instantly, but it's a flash body slam happening. It's so hard to react to in time.
Yeah.
Exhausted, and I don't think that Primordial Burst hit anybody either. So
Make it
Fnatic,
a body slam flash.
3,000 gold in the lead. They've got all outer turrets down. Dragon's going to be up in 30 seconds. And look at that ring of deep vision behind the Dragon.
Yeah, again, that's the problem now for EDG. They know these wards are going to be there because they've been pushed down in this mid lane for such a long time. Huni can now TP in behind them if Fnatic wants to fight for this one. He's TPing in now.
And he's TPing north.
Finally!
EDG are trying to retreat. Huni wants to cut them off.
Be careful.
He's not very tanky. He does not want to be here. Grand Challenge is onto Huni, and Deft actually gets knocked towards him. Huni's going to use those broken wings to get away, and he gets eaten. Yellowstar saves him. Another kill for Febervin before Huni gets dropped by Koro. Rainover's trying to get out, but he's trapped in the baby cage, and Pawn sends him back to base. Well, Febervin is dominating with another kill on Koro.
Yellowstar saved Huni, but then kept chasing Koro and spit Huni back out with like 50 life. So he died. But that'll be a two for two right there. All said and done, though, Fnatic still have control of the map. So even though it's a 2 for 2, even on kills, they get the objective afterwards. They shove the lane. Oh, actually, Reckless actually not going to start the Dragon there. Red Steel instead. Bit more risky.
Or
and
not.
now the Dragon's going to be very late, and Pawn does have teleport. Pawn's actually in lane already.
Deft actually manages to secure that one. Fnatic now a little maybe late to the Dragon. Ultimate's not available for everybody, but EDG are not in range to contest.
There's double ping wards for Fnatic, so it's hard for EDG to walk in and face check a fairly fit LeBlanc at this point. I mean, 6 kills in 19 minutes. It's very standard for me, at least in solo queue. What we do see from
Fnatic special.
Oh, stay hungry, stay humble, my friend. Yellowstar is going to prevent the ace in the hole by just devouring Febervin.
Why block it when you can eat it?
And Deft will knock over the tower using that range of Caitlyn.
Yeah, and this time around, no TP for Fnatic to stop the siege. But this is how you play against these siege compositions when you know it's going to happen. You need those wards beforehand, like Fnatic here. Huni goes in a little bit early, and because there's no hard engage for Fnatic, it's very difficult for him, and he does get saved at first.
Let's watch what actually. He spits him back out with a 50 HP. Yellowstar, thanks for the save.
They didn't even have time to shield right.
Shame.
Whoa, LeBlanc killed Caitlyn. Talking about Febervin, he's got 7 now.
So, ouch. Deft 0.
Now it's fed.
Tell us, Deficio, what exactly happened there. Give us the QW.
I think there was some QW, maybe some
dead.
R in there.
Wow, Rainover's gonna find clear love. Defensive flash. Huni actually popped that ultimate. Didn't manage to follow through because Maiko found the Dark Binding. And Fnatic are now just playing really free and loose. They've got the freedom, they're far enough ahead, and there's not a lot of resistance that can come up yet.
And I think with the momentum they have, with the amount of control that they've just gotten, this huge lead that Fnatic are building, they need to fortify that. They need to start getting up that vision now, because if they close the loop on the vision and they black out the map here for EDG, then there's just almost no move for EDG. They have to just... and he burns to death. They have to just group up. EDG, this is a team that has to group up and try and use the poking, try and use the bindings and cage to land.
And it's supposed to be fairly safe to get the outer turrets down. You know, you can have pink wards in the river yourself to try and avoid some of these deep wards that can flank you. going for the tier 2 turrets becomes even harder now for EDG because they don't have the map control, because they are pretty far behind in gold. So they might rely more on Fnatic, misplaying a pick here, like Fibman goes too aggressive and dives on the tower and dies, and then EDG starts moving up towards the tier 2 towers.
Well, it's about 1 minute and 10 seconds before Huni's teleport is available, and the deep wards will need to be reset before Fnatic can look for a similar play.
This is often where we see teams lose their big leads when you have a team comp similar to this. What Fnatic needs to do, all they have to do is keep EDG bottled up for long enough. They already have dragon stacking. They have 2 dragons already. Control the neutral objectives, and you continue to draw EDG out. Continue to make these picks. Continue to get the LeBlanc 100% to 0. Continue to get Huni isolated with Koro.
4-level difference between Koro and Huni right now, and nearly 100 CS. I believe that's called the Flame Horizon, if memory serves.
Yes, yes, sir. Now, one of the things amazing Jay, the poor guy, was criticized for a lot, was dying like this against the enemy top laner. But funny enough, it's the same kind of setup, where the other team is sending 2, 3, 4 guys to dive him and kill him and shut him down, because top lane gets out of control very, very easily. We see here, EDG tried to defend Koro, but they were always a step behind, and therefore it's the same result. Top laner falls super far behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a which one came first, because he is also the reason Fnatic are sending people to dive him is because he's losing trades to Huni in lane, and Huni's pushing him under turret and prepping him to get destroyed.
What Fnatic also wants to do now, though, is prepping that Baron, because as a poke comp, if you have to face check in towards the Baron, you really hate it. Yellowstar, he's eating Zilla.
He is, but his Grey health is being burned through. The barrel pulls Maiko backwards, and a big AoE. Maiko's been tagged, and a quiet taste will not even be needed. Get excited with Reckless, and Feathervin cleans up. Fnatic find 3, and in a turret, and they can even go for Baron.
Fnatic just stayed around the Baron, then walked into the jungle, and EDG is trying to get control back. But when there's so many things that can just kill you so easily, and so much mobility on the side of Fnatic with Riven, LeBlanc, and even the top Kendrick can just walk in and eat you and spit you back. It is so difficult to regain that control. You were a siege comp. You were supposed to get a big tower advantage, and you got nothing.
All right, we'll take another look at it. You catch the Kench. He's got 2 health bars here. So Grey health goes up, and teleports come down. Pawn actually uses everything on the outside here. Forbidden just walks around, and all of Fnatic teleport in. They continue the pain train and crush EDG under the turret and take it afterwards as well. All right, now we have a minute.
What a game from Fnatic. They've got Baron now. Every single one of their lanes is winning, despite the trouble that Reckless and Yellowstar had early. They were able to put pressure on the side lanes, and they've got him relevant.
Well, if you have a losing 2v2 lane, Morgana Caitlyn, pretty hard to gank. Why not just go down and kill the Fiora over and over? You have Riven.
Well, when you put it that way.
I mean, come on, that's how the game is, right? You just go kill someone.
Split pushing with Baron buff taking effect here. Huge 10,000 almost gold lead here for Fnatic.
So, we have seen 3 new picks from Deft today. And I just have to say, the Jace, I didn't see anything I liked. He did nothing in that game. The Mordekaiser, his dragon control was terrible. I'll give him 1 out of 10 for that one as well.
Harsh.
So far, the Caitlyn, he did his job on the Caitlyn, to be fair. He pushed in the wave over and over, he got the tower.
So the champion you were the most excited about in terms of his solo queue prep this week is the one you're giving the highest ratings? Out of 10, what do we think?
I mean, he couldn't really do much else right, but he gets a 5 out of 10 for that one.
Okay, 5 out of 10 for
He gets
Caitlyn.
5 out of 10?
He took 2 towers down, his team is losing.
Huni has still got that 4-level advantage and pushing the bottom lane, gentlemen, while the rest of Fnatic are pushing the middle lane. I'd like to get the scoreboard here for Huni in a moment as Koro's got some help from Clear Love, but Feathervin's joined the fight. He's taken down the tower and is looking to kill Koro once more. The rest of Fnatic are going to focus down the inhibitor as Rainover gets caught out by a Dark Binding. Not going to be enough as the Wind Slash hits pretty high health targets. Not going to secure the kill. Reckless has got the tower in the mid lane. Inhibitor falls bottom. The base is breaking and there's nothing EDG can do. One hit forces Deft to retreat. The Event Horizon comes down and the Christmas presents look to be Fnatic's as they are going to take a second inhibitor and get themselves out unscathed.
All due to the Tom Kench. Wasn't that right, Kobe?
Actually, it's all due to Riven. I said every time we see Ribbons in the game.
So,
if that champion is in the game, go gank her.
Hey.
She's going to snowball one way or the other.
Huni had an okay start to the game, sure. But Febiven, to me, really is the standout guy. First game as well, he had such a good performance. This one, he's roaming from the mid lane, he's pushing it down 24/7, walks down bottom lane, he's part of every single kill basically Fnatic. He's getting except for 2 kills, I just noticed, but he's been part of almost everything else. And this guy is on fire this tournament. I would even say he's been the best performing mid laner in this tournament alone. Not saying he's the best in the world, but in this tournament he's been looking fantastic.
Don't step on my territory there, Deficio.
Do you want to say
work at the moment? And as you mentioned, allowing Fnatic to continue pressing their advantage. Baron has worn off, and Fnatic are just grouping in the top lane. It is just a matter of time before they get to their third and final inhibitor. There's been no reservation, no hesitation, no signs of weakness for Fnatic this game.
Double pink.
There's a sign of weakness.
Yep, there we go, a little mistake. Just wanted to test the strength of that baby cage. Febiven's gonna eat the Primordial Burst and lose a major chunk of his hit points. But he does stay alive. Huni's gonna pull enough threat to buy some time. The rest of Fnatic to at least look to take this tower down in what is still a 4 versus 5.
Yeah, I mean, Febiven's not running teleport on LeBlanc, so Fnatic gonna take it fairly slow and easy here. 4 versus 5.
Oh wow, Yellowstar even pulls him out of the stun.
Just look at how Yellowstar's standing here. Whenever Reckless goes in to hit the tower, Yellowstar's just slightly behind him. So when the stun lands, it's only on Reckless, and then he eats him, spits him out.
And what did I even say? He's got a Quicksilver Sash on Tahm Kench as well. So even if you land the double cage, Yellowstar can still get himself out and save whoever's next to him.
Well, we'll find out if Tahm Kench manages to make it through the rest of picks and bans. Def gets caught out. The Event Horizon will not be enough to kill Rainover, and Def is running away. A 3-man stun. Huni's not able to push EDG back. The tower falls, so does Koro. Inhibitor number 3 is down. Fnatic have super minions looking towards the Nexus turrets, and they will drop the Nexus turrets. Fnatic rebound after a difficult start, and they will crush Edward Gaming. Nexus turret is a matter of time as Fnatic take the lead 2-0 and are 1 game away from a semi-final and a top 4 minimum at Worlds.
So EDG showed a new strategy trying to run a siege composition. I would like to hear the analyst desk talk, especially Spawn, about this one, because I remember when EDG came into MSI, we were watching some of their games, and when they tried to run like siege comps, it often didn't work for them at all. They never really had enough control on the map and would just get killed and get into big team fights. They tried to do it now. Obviously, we're talking 4 or 5 months later. Same result though, mainly due to the fact that Fnatic would snowball that bottom lane so effectively, setting up Huni to jump in and flank, and then Febiven to just kill everyone. Everyone.
I'm telling you, go for the lane with the ribbon in it.
Kobe, you are so heartbroken.
I've had a lot of times in my life where I've had solo queue games be determined by a ribbon. Even me and you in Korean solo queue, but
I died 5 times.
But also, Fnatic, I mean, just the statement here, after that long sort of slow pause game, to come out and absolutely take game 2 in such a commanding manner. Going into game 3, they have such a mental edge over EDG right now. EDG have to come up with something else.
Yeah.
They've struck out twice with 2 different strategies, maybe even 3 if you count the
I think we should
remake, yeah.
It looked to me like EDG did not want to play that same comp as they did in the game 2, basically, that didn't happen because they banned Mordekaiser.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, we don't want to make
They're
the
like,
same trade.
whoa.
They're like, let's just ban it this time and get rid of these super strong champions and then run a more standard composition.
And it looked way worse. Fnatic, they go back to a little bit more of maybe a spring, a la early summer style, early ganks, early pressure, and just basically solo carry by finding kills in different places.
It's what they've been doing here at Worlds. They play so much around Huni's lane, and it worked in this game.
Early game strengths of Fnatic shining through. We're about to find out what Dash and the analyst desk have to say about that dominant Fnatic victory.
Thank you very much, Quick Shot. Deficio there wanted to hear your thoughts, Spawn. So I'm going to come to you first. After what we saw in the remade game in terms of picked bans, entirely new stuff came out.
and EDG going for this Siege comp.
Yeah, and, you know, historically is 100% correct that they struggled with this, and then they had one composition that they could make work, and this is why I actually thought it would work, and that was Arazir Jinx composition. And this is a very similar feeling, right? You've got a Viger and you've got a Caitlyn, and this is why I actually really like this game out of Fnatic, because when you look at this on paper, if you were going to take two teams that had no names and put the team comps side by side on paper, you say EDG outpicked the heck out of this guy, because what they did is they made them tunnel and Tahm Kench, which says that there is no engage coming in, and then they know that Huni plays non-engaged top laners like the Riven. Honestly, Fnatic had one win condition, and that was snowball their top laner. The credit that you have to give to Fnatic is that this team is that damn good at the game that they had one win condition and they completely blew EDG out of the water. That was a very one-sided affair.
I think the question...
Hold on, just EDG on your screen looking, you know, a little down in the dumps here. Down 0-2 is not the way they wanted to start this series. Back to you, Yamada.
I think the question that comes to mind when you think of the win conditions, I was saying before that I cannot see what is good against Fiora, but with the Riven pick coming in, how good is it actually against Fiora? We see that Huni has experience with the Riven, he has experience with the Fiora, and is playing this matchup up like really well. So the question is, in the future, will Riven bans come in if Koro still wants to play this Fiora? That is the question to me, because if in reality, if Riven is really good against Fiora, that is a proper win condition to play by.
And interestingly, just a statistic on Huni's picks, this is the first time at Worlds that he's repeat played a champion. He has played Yasuo, Darius, Hecarim, Gnar, Echo, J4, Riven, and now Riven again. So a very diverse champion pool there.
His Riven, he gets to make flashy plays on it. Both times he's come up really huge on it. I think that's a really great champion to put him on. And you get this split push and skirmish style that we've been seeing from Fnatic and has been prevalent in their statistics. But also, not only did they get Huni massively far ahead and he hit break points like level 2 ultimate, level 3 ultimate way before Koro did. I don't think Koro even got rank 3 ultimate in this game. You also had Febiven. He came down. He was a big beneficiary of this fight. He ends up getting a triple kill off of roaming to help the Riven. So even though you're getting this Huni ahead, you're getting him levels, you're getting him a CS advantage because he's manipulating the wave after this point with pressure, Febiven is hitting item breakpoints where now Veigar and Caitlyn have to watch out for themselves immensely. And the retaliation, this is where I disagree with you, Spawn, about losing in pick ban, because you still have a win condition that you can play to, even though, like that, in my opinion, that is not losing pick ban. That is still having a strategy that you can play towards, and I completely disagree, because Tahm Kench shuts down what they wanted to do with the pick.
Well, let me let Spawn. Hold up, everyone. Let me direct Spawn first.
How does Tahm Kench stop a turret siege?
Tahm Kench stops the engage and somebody getting blown up. This is a one-trick blow-up.
So no, it's not a one-trick blow-up comp. This comp is drop the Viger ultimate on top of the turret, and they cannot wave clear
successfully. And you throw out Jinx traps, and you go ahead and you zone with the Jinx as well. You have this range.
Hold up.
They have no wave clear. They have no wave clear. So the way Viger ultimate works is if you actually put it on your backline minion wave, no one can clear that wave because the only way LeBlanc can do it is throw herself into the cage, and Jinx can't actually get close enough because of the zoning tools of the Viger and of a Morgana. This was 100% a siege comp against a comp that ran absolutely zero wave clear. There is no way that you can actually say in an even matchup up until like 40 points in the game, they had a win condition apart from split push with the Riven. And that is where they got ahead.
Now, hold up, please. I want to go to Yamato now to get another person's take on this.
It's like, in reality, what it is, I think it's a reverse of what we saw in the game that was, of course, remade. It is just a question of, I agree with Spawn, and I also agree with you, because the early game is in favor of Fnatic simply because of the LeBlanc and the Riven, but the top lane matchup, which was the bot lane matchup, is weaker. But if they cannot play on this pressure that they gain from these strong matchups, of course they're going to end up in a situation where EDG can siege, and that is a situation where Fnatic can't respond. But in reality, Fnatic also have a clear win condition with two stronger lanes. So I agree with both of you.
Okay, now I want to come back to you, Zyrene.
But if you agree with both of us, it means it wasn't a losing champion select for either team.
Yeah, I think it was a good draft.
Yeah, no, I think it is a very good draft. What I'm trying to say is one team comp is much harder to execute on. So when you go into a pick ban phase, right, you do not say that unless this lane gets significantly ahead by 15 minutes in the game, we lose this game. That, to me, is a horrible way to bet. As a coach, I would shudder to think that Daylor went into this game and said, if we do not snowball a lane that has lost 2 games in a row by 15 minutes, we will lose this game. That, to me, is just a bizarre curveball to throw, but they threw it and it ended up winning. What I'm trying to say is that equal time, these teams are always in the favor of the zone control.
The argument is that the win condition can't come from we need to be ahead by X amount of gold. The win condition is in an even state, right?
Yeah.
Which of these teams is going to perform better against the other?
But that's a stylistic difference when you're looking at it, because as a coach, I could say, I want to pick a matchup that we're going to give a lot of resources to, try to snowball it, and that's a win condition there. If your win condition is to make it so that you have one person who's ahead and you're like, I can't bet on that, then can I bet on anything in the game at all? I feel like that's something, because it's never going to be at an even state 100% of the time.
I see as well, like, when you think of a pick and ban, it has to work in theory. And the question comes into mind is consistency. I understand that there's a certain risk coming into the draft with the Riven, but in reality, the real question is how good is Riven against Fiora? Because if this matchup is very, like, one-sided, as we saw, this is the first time I see this matchup being played in a tournament, then the strategy makes sense, because it is, you just play on the fact that Riven's going to win on that matchup.
I want to bring it full circle now, back to the teams at hand and how this can affect the series moving forward. We have seen an example of Riven getting extraordinarily far ahead of Fiora. However, we've made the claim that if that doesn't happen, EDG would have been in an advantageous position.
Yeah.
So what needs to then change on EDG's side in order to not allow that lead to be created by Fnatic and put themselves in a position 5-10 minutes later in the game where they can set up that siege?
So one thing EDG did really well game 1, which they didn't do this game, was maintaining double pink wards on top lane. I actually feel like this, if you go back and watch a replay, and teams will do this, with carry top laners, like that they're going to either run into Smeb and they'll run into Myron at some point if they're able to get through some of these, or someday. That double pink ward in top lane actually made Huni play the lane very differently to how Huni normally plays. So I think if they can go back to that, cheat towards bottom side of the map and maintain the double pink wards, it will actually help them out.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. Go ahead, Yamato.
I feel like the thing is, what allowed them to get these pink wards was the fact that Fiora was in a stronger matchup in this particular game. He was being against this Jarvan, and in the case of Riven, she's very strong. I feel the solution is put her in a lane swap, make sure she's behind in the game. Then she's not going to impact the game as much, only the lane phase, because she's always strong.
I was talking about Huni in general, not the Riven matchup. I just think Huni in general needs to be affected mentally because his skills on Summoner's Rift are way too good.
Well, compelling stuff. Fnatic is just one win away from advancing to next week's semifinals in Brussels. We'll take a look at match point right after this.
It is game 2 of Fnatic versus EDG. It's a messy fight so far, 2 for 2, and it's Jungler on mid lane action. That's a triple kill. Huni's gonna use those broken wings to get away, and he gets eaten. Yellow Star saves him. Another kill for Featherfed. Big AoE. Mako's been tagged, and a quiet taste will not even be needed. Get excited with Reckless is running away. A 3-man stun. Huni's not able to push EDG back. Fnatic crush Edward Gaming. And welcome back to our continuing coverage of today's World Championship quarterfinal bout between Fnatic and Edward Gaming. The Chinese squad are currently down 0-2 and need to win every game from here on out to keep their tournament hopes alive. Much like my South African brethren, who are currently playing against Wales in the Rugby World Cup. Unfortunately for the local English crowd, your team is not, but hopefully my team can pick it up. Sorry, I had to get a dig. We're in a rugby country. This is the only time I can talk about this stuff, gentlemen. It's out my system. Unfortunately, South Africa is also losing to Wales, so I kind of deserve that.
There you go.
So, yes. Right, let's go. Pick some bands. Fnatic, blue side game 3. GP and Maud are still undefeated because of the remake, so we will need to see who's going to take the lead in that regard. And Time Kench has been pivotal, let's say.
Sure, and I expect Fnatic to just ban it away. Don't want to risk it, go first rotation on the side of EDG, as the jungle picks has been like the first picks outside of the Mordekaiser, which is probably also going to be banned now by EDG because they clearly did not want to play that again.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get through again.
And since yesterday, we're seeing Mordekaiser also banned on the blue side, not exclusively red side bans, which we were seeing during the course of week 2 at the World Championship.
Definitely don't want to play Mordekaiser
This
on
time
the side
round,
of EDG.
EDG getting rid of it once more. So,
Yeah.
GP up, Lulu up, Tom Kench up,
Well,
Jinx up.
We
A lot
should
of priority
expect
picks.
EDG's bans now just to be Mordekaiser, GP, and Elise again. Target out Reignover, and Fnatic can then look to first pick the Rek'Sai like they did in the first game. Or maybe the Gragas if they want that one instead.
Well, a few of those predictions have come true already. 20 seconds left. Where do they go with the rest of their picks, Deficio, if plays out as expected with Elise and then Rek'Sai first pick for Huni?
Well, seeing as EDG will have the last pick, and we just saw that Riven into Fiora, we might see them be a little bit more aware of the fact that blind picking Fiora might not be the smartest decision if you are EDG, and therefore they maybe want to save that for Koro, but would require them to get like a safe control mage in the mid lane, which is not always EDG's style.
Honestly, if I was EDG, I might even put Koro on something like Malphite and put all my eggs in the Deft Pawn basket here.
One of the problems about the Malphite though is just Huni can play like Echo into it, he can maybe play Fiora into it and try and really bully him in lane.
They did lose the game he played Echo, didn't they? Or no, they won. They won. They were able to defeat AHQ.
Yeah, 8, 5, and 8. 3 KDA.
Oh,
Champion for Huni.
The Sivir and Kennen steal.
So EDG,
Interesting.
I think the Kennen takeaway is fine. I think they turn a little bit too hard on Sivir for Fnatic. It's not necessarily a must pick for Fnatic in any way. They play Jinx already. There's a lot of picks Reckless can play.
Yeah.
Data carry position.
Reckless utility picks here being stolen away, I feel like is kind of a trick on EDG because Reckless, we saw him just play the Jinx game. He's very well-rounded AD carry. He can easily play around those stealaways. So my question is this Kennen going to be support or solo lane?
But I have to see. It's obviously one of the flex picks you can use. But I think what EDG is doing is saying because Tahm Kench and Lulu are banned, your Jinx pick is a lot riskier now. There's no Tahm Kench to save it. So by us taking away your utility picks, we will have ways of at least getting onto you as an AD carry in these big team fights. Kennen flash in, Sivir popping her ulti. I think they're basically looking at the fact that whenever the Tahm Kench Lulu has been open, Fnatic has run the utility AD carries because they were safer to run.
Yeah, I mean, Janna is a really good answer to Kennen because Janna can just knock him right back out during the duration of the ult, and because there is that small delay after you get knocked out as well, it basically nullifies the Kennen ultimate as long as Janna herself doesn't get knocked down. Adding in Gragas, though, is some extra displacement here for EDG, so it does add some versatility there. EDG definitely, clearly a Stampede comp, though. Yeah. They just want to rush him down. They want to get to Jinx, blow him up.
And that's the thing again here for EDG. They're basically saying, you ban away the 2 champs to protect the Jinx, so now we try and force you to pick the Jinx at the same time by taking away your picks. And also EDG are potentially saving the last pick for Koro. We talked about how this Fiora matchup into Riven wasn't that great for him, also because he got ganked so many times. So they want to at least have the flex option of Kennen, or go something completely different in that top lane.
A lot of pressure then for Koro in this last pick. He's had a difficult game to bounce back from, and mentality in the EDG camp will be something we'll have to look at. Huni will once again get his hands on Riven. He had a 73 CS advantage at 20 minutes over Koro.
Yeah, Fnatic go hard here. 3 extremely strong carries in each lane here for Fnatic. Or 1 in each lane, obviously.
Thanks for clarifying. I would never have known that, Kobe. And it's going to be the Darius lock-in for Koro.
So it's a little bit of the same in terms of the matchup. I do think Darius is better in the early game, though, when it comes to punishing the Riven. However, the problem is when Fnatic pick a champion like Riven that can get out of control, they will camp for that champion. So it's not just Huni 1v1ing someone, it's 2 or 3 guys coming down.
Also, you know, obviously I haven't been able to spy on them in scrims, but doing my best to spy on Koro in solo queue, is Darius has not been his best champion. Of the new ones trying to pick up, Darius has been one of the worst for him. And that's why they, I think, hesitated to pick it before this. But we'll see how he does into Huni's Riven this time around. Obviously, you know, both of these junglers can have a huge effect.
And there's also a much more well-rounded combo around a Kassadin. Not like the one where they try to siege with 5 melee champions and so on, because you have wave clear on a Sivir, you have a fairly strong 2v2 lane because you have Kennen support and you have Darius up top, so you have strong side lanes to back up the Kassadin and prevent that siege in mid. That's going to be key for EDG.
The other key thing is trying to lock that Riven down. You know, CC is her biggest weakness. Lock her down and make her a reset for Darius. That's the key to their team fight.
And we'll find out whether or not Fnatic want to once again camp for Huni, which has proved so successful. Will they be the first and only team to qualify for 3 World Championship semi-finals? Jump on Twitter with hashtag FNCWin. Or will EDG start the comeback here and now? It's game 3 of the quarterfinal.
Talking about lockdown though, honestly, if I am Huni looking at this EDG lineup, I'm not scared. It's only a support Kennen that will get blown up really quickly and a small mini stun there to try and interrupt the combos.
But if you are Huni and looking at this EDG lineup, you might just fear for the life of your AD carry. Because the Darius and the Kassadin and so on are not going to be standing there hitting Huni. They're going to obviously try and jump past him, get onto Reckless, where his peel is going to be the Azir wall, though. It's going to be the Alistar, so it's decent what Fnatic has built there to protect him. It's just not a Tahm Kench.
You're a much nicer top laner than I am. I think out only for number 1. I don't care about my AD carry. If they're diving my AD carry, that means I'm free to rip apart the rest of the Deficio team player.
Always.
Scumbag Kobe. Now Febiven is going to be once again facing off against Pawn. The last time we did see these two play, Pawn is able to get a little bit of a pressure advantage early on, managing to dance around those sand soldiers relatively effectively.
Yeah, it was definitely a good lane matchup for EDG. Definitely something that Fnatic have also shown is they continue to pick for the team rather than individual lane matchups.
And that's something a team has done for a very long time, in fact. They've come out and spoken publicly about it as well, where if players say they are not 100% comfortable, but for the team, for the strategy, for the play, it'll work. EDG walked over that ward, so Fnatic should be aware something is up.
Yeah, they saw the ward being placed 100%, and it's just EDG trying to scout where Fnatic is starting, so they can see, okay, if Reynolds is starting on red buff here, where's he going to path next? Obviously, what he has done before in these lane swaps is then you try and invade into the enemy jungle, but you can't do that in this case, at least for now, because it's the Mako and Deft company on the bottom side.
No invade there from Fnatic. They just kind of get the surprise lane swap on EDG. And they're able to get up there very quickly. Yellowstar with the invade to interrupt the double jungle here as well.
Wow.
Huge amount of extra damage taken.
Even going to use exhaust. Real bothersome. Red buff. Let's see. Lost auto attack. Is Yellowstar going to steal it? No.
Might have
back
to use
away.
Flash to get out of here.
Exhaust and flash to delay what? 20 seconds? 30 seconds maybe?
Here's the thing. I really do like the support invades to delay jungle like that, because jungle and top lane are two of the biggest playmakers in the early stages of the game, because top lane is your teleport, jungler is the one working with Fog of War, moving around the map. So taking them both out, delaying them both, greatly reduces EDG's ability to make plays in the early stages of this game.
Make sure you leave before the buff dies, though. And a guy hits level 2. So
the execution is a different...
definitely a good job from Yellowstar at first, though. Being annoying. We're going to see the fast push once again. EDG showed in the last game, also in the first game of today. They also want to opt into this lane swap strategy, and this is still the problem for Febiven. He's picking this matchup, Azir into Kassadin, knowing that he's going to struggle in lane, because Kassadin can out-sustain him with the flask and 3 potions and just keep trading Qs into his face.
Paul takes a lot of damage from that Sand Soldier, though. The Conquering Sand sending him forward. Reyno, but tried this gank before. This time hits the Brave Seeker. Once again, flashes, gets the knock-up, and will trade his flash for pawns.
We'll see if they can return, you know, before Flash comes back up, before Pawn gets level 6. Maybe now that will be enough to curb the aggression, but they would have to just plan that with a bunch of wards as well. Coral going to get solo gold.
Still a very good gank from Reignover, basically saying, we lost this lane matchup before, pre-level 6 Kassadin, we're gonna bully you. They saw 3 guys on the bottom side of the tower, so they weren't afraid of face checking into the bush, even in the 2v2 against the level 3 Kassadin. So I like the gank for Reignover trading flash, as long as he can return. Obviously it's the key thing, don't let him get level 6, jump away. But really for EDG, right now, it's just about farm up your castle in the mid lane, and then once we hit like 14 minutes, around that time, you swap him down to the side lane, you put Sivir in mid lane as the wave clear, and you just play this 1-3-1 setup again.
Yeah, not having flash pre-6 in the mid lane for Kassadin completely changes the face of the entire lane. Quan has to play so much more careful. He has to now use his Q mana cost on trying to get CS, and that greatly reduces the harassment. That's why I think vision around mid lane now is going to become extremely important. Fibivin does have some already in place of his own, so...
And he's got support. Huni's already stealing back through his jungle. Reignover's hovering or shadowing towards the bottom side of that river, and Huni is not running the risk of getting dove up top. Just gets spotted by Clear Love. They're going to do a little bit of a battle over this Merc Wolf. Clear Love should win out.
Right here, though, again, we see for the two top laners, Koro is very quickly to leave his lane, even though he might be able to get a few CS down there while the wave is obviously going to bounce towards him and just trying to shove it back because he knows Reckless is going to show up and push it back the other way anyway. He leaves instantly. Huni always stays, gets a few extra CS, and it can matter. It might just be, 2 minions total, but that experience can give you that one level up you need to beat him then later on.
So what do we make of another trade? Top Fnatic tower for bottom EDG tower, just straight up saying, you do you. Avarice Blade was picked up early by Deft to the second Dorans for Reckless.
Yeah, and you mentioned being greedy. Huni, once again, he's getting a little bit of experience here, gets into the range of the minions dying, but being greedy does have its cost sometimes. There's a teleport here, or there's a ward here they can teleport on, and Clear Love's already in place. It looks like seeing Rek'Sai is enough to dissuade EG from going for that tower dive. Or does it just delay it?
So it's not about clearing the ward. TP can still happen. Look at the positioning of Koro at his tier 2 tower. He's just waiting. And now Huni realizes, okay, I don't have backup anymore. Move away. EDG, though, if they pull the trigger instantly, we're talking again 20 seconds ago, they might have been able to force something of Huni, but that would have cost the TP. And now, no flash in mid.
Yeah, they don't pull the trigger, though, and Fnatic go for the move mid.
The Flash Emperor's Divide sends Pawn to Reignover. Reignover's only level 4, though, and unable to get more damage down. Pawn can Rift Walk to safety. This will buy some time for tower damage, but they don't get the kill.
Again, they force him away. They make sure February can push this mid lane. And now with these outer turrets gone in the side lanes, I'm almost going to say that's going to favor Fnatic because of the fact that Darius is this low mobility
they're going to make the counterplay on bottom.
Huni is teleporting in for Koro. Flash comes up, followed by Yellow Star, and Fnatic should pick this one up real clean, real simple, and it's first blood to Huni.
I really like this play. Just very quickly got to talk about how getting these towers down, Darius with so little mobility, only has the flash, he's just stuck there. Fnatic instantly just capitalize and kill him.
The reason why Huni can't afford to play that aggressive is because Riven has not only 2 dashes, not only flash as Koro also does, but 2 dashes in her kit. Very mobile. He was looking to outplay that. So EDG don't pull the trigger, but they forget about the mirror play, the exact same play on the bottom side, and Koro gets himself even deeper into a hole. Huni had already, by the way, been able to leech half a level lead just from being in minion wave range, whereas Koro was not in range. So now he's just skyrocketing ahead. If they do meet up in the side lanes, it will be a massacre.
And because EDG, when they were trying to make this play on the top side, they hesitated. They were waiting and waiting and waiting. Reignover shows that, like, okay, guys, we're not going to go for the play. So that allowed Huni to get almost a full wave of experience. Just a difference in teams and how quick they are to pull the trigger, how confident they are in this play.
And the jungler as well. Because Reignover just did a drive-by, he went and did an extra camp. So all things, Fnatic really not wasting time.
And another
he already losing it.
Good start here for Fnatic. If you step back and you look at EG, Koro's gone back to this more tanky champion in Darius. Substituted out in place of Amazing J, and EG, they had a good start with that triple TP comp, but really it's been downhill from there. EG just not challenging Fnatic just yet.
Koro is pretty screwed right now. He's been relegated to the jungler, the worst place for a top laner. Koro just trying to scavenge in EDG's jungle, and he is ridiculously far behind, trying to catch up here. But as you said, it's scary for him to extend in any lane.
It's always the problem about Darius is he's not really a split pusher. Because of the fact he cannot escape, he cannot really chase you down, he's a much better team fighter. So while EDG wants to 1-3-1, that's just to farm. They want to then group in together and fight with this comp here, pop that Sivir ulti, get to the backline of Fnatic. But if they start falling behind in these lanes here, especially if Huni once again gets going on this Riven, nobody can 1v1 him on the side of EDG. So that's a split pushing advantage for Fnatic, while Febvin is sitting and just wave playing mid over and over.
Well, I like, again, the early Sightstone here from Reignover, trying to get vision to keep this lead that they have.
Again, calculated play from Fnatic, setting up around that Dragon. We've got a numbers advantage down there. Good early game. 9 first bloods out of 9 games played. Fnatic really know how to get their players ahead when they pick a lane together.
Yeah, exactly. This lead that they have is transitioning into a big CS lead for Reckless as well. Because they have the advantage, they can rotate him over to the giant minion wave to pick that up. And he got a huge influx of cash recently. Now he's got the BF sword pushing up on secondary turret bottom. Fnatic also have the wards to back it up.
Huni should not be too greedy now though, because his team is making a play in the bottom side of the map. Kazan, this is the swap we talked about earlier, how you put Sivir in mid to wave play and defend with towers, and Kazan goes to side lane. It's very difficult for him right now because of the fact Fnatic is already grouped and start pushing in on the tower. But that means Huni needs to be careful top because his team is on bottom side and he's doing a camp.
He's in trouble. Huni gets caught out and he's going to get dropped. Flashes over the wall. Broken wings out. Doesn't find the Baron wall. Manages to survive. Can Fnatic do the same thing down bottom? Pawn has been chunked to half HP. The rest of Fnatic are sieging onto the tower.
That's the thick part of the wall.
Kobe, you're still stuck on that one. Fnatic get a bunch of autos onto that bottom inner turret. And Huni loses his flash for overextending. The Dragon is still not secured yet, but Fnatic will now back away after having a little more time on that tower and a little more information.
And that is a perfect example. You know, Darius is a champion who could not have made that escape. Riven, much easier to overextend and play greedy like that. Now that he doesn't have his flash, obviously, they're going to have to wait for wards to do that again. But the advantage has already been gained, and they're snowballing with it.
And we really just get to see, in a lane swap, it's so much more than just, okay, we killed the first tower, lane swap is over. No, it's the play's happening 5-6 minutes after again, because the way you set up the minion waves, the tower should push down. Can you get that TP play where you 4v1, kill the enemy top laner, and so on? And Fnatic just executed that really well. Would still like to see Huni just back away from that top side. He likes to risk it and stay and say, oh, can I make a play
Gotta
here?
risk it for the biscuit, Devicio.
You gotta risk it for the dragon buff.
And Fnatic make it count. Take a look at this. Febvin, 20 CS advantage. Reckless, 10 CS advantage. Yes, Huni is down 10 CS, but he got that first blood. He's got some time, and he's actually still ahead in gold thanks to the towers.
And as I said, they've been funneling, you know, the large minion wave over to the other side, so the bank still coming in.
And the key thing for top laners here is not the gold right now, it's the experience. They're even at the moment, so despite Huni having to flash away. Nice trade in the mid lane though. Will become a problem for Febvin. These one-on-ones happening.
Speaking of CS leads, that early gank from Reignover really changed the face of that matchup.
The last time this played out was in that game that was remade. The only game where Fnatic did not score first blood. So as a team, they have 100% win rate officially with scoring first blood. Useless stat 101. EDG are grouped up in this middle lane. They've got some pressure with their entire team here.
You're gonna
wave clear.
Siege with a Cassid and Darius? Nice.
You have an auto attack reset with your W. That's crazy to see right there. Boom, W in your face.
Hashtag worth.
Problem for EDG was they had to use teleport back to lane in mid to defend the tower and then push it out. So now that split pushing component that was supposed to put pressure on Fnatic is not there.
I think it's a very clear point though there. EDG, they obviously know that they don't have much they can get outside of chasing somebody down with a Sivir ultimate in open ground. This is a Stampede comp, that's what they have to do. So Fnatic, they also know this, they're playing around it while they're waiting for people to go purchase items. They just play defensively at the turrets. They know that there's not really a big threat of even in a 4-person siege getting much done.
Febvin manages to get his way to safety thanks to those shifting sands. But with 14 minutes in, only a single kill on the board. Again, a slower pace to the early game. Huni is nowhere near as far ahead as he was in the previous game. And despite the early pains on Koro, he's still 8 in CS, he's still even on levels, he's still relevant in this game. So EDG are going to have the option to stampede if they can find the right vision and the right position on the map.
Still, no teleport for them at the moment, so Fnatic can send someone down to catch the wave at the tier 2 tower. It's hard for them to push as well due to the fact Deft has so much wave clear. So again, we see how EDG really wants to position on the map. 2 side lanes being pushed in with double teleport, severe wave clear in mid over and over, and then you collapse and you get the flank going with Darius and Kassadin. Fnatic should be able to ward against it very easily though, because if EDG are keeping the AD carry mid, they don't really have any pressure, so it's hard for them to invade into the jungle of Fnatic without risking face checking and then get down these deep wards. That's why you see the jungle at the moment is almost empty of EDG wards, so they can't really collapse on Fnatic at the moment. Just have to sit back and try and farm because you have one spike behind.
Dragon's a few minutes away. Crowd is definitely anticipating the next move. 1,000 gold separates these teams. Farm looking better and better for EDG as that Rod of Age is slowly stacking up. It's a couple minutes late for Pawn, but not too terrible. Dragon's going to be about 3 minutes away. 2 minutes rather, as the clock just pops up. So let's see if EDG can set up any vision or look to challenge. They've got a couple of wards in that area.
Just got a few put in there. Fnatic do have the chance to go back and get some pink wards as well before it. But this push in the mid is again what we're going to keep seeing. There's no wave clear at the moment, and Jinx will take down these towers.
They're going to pull the trigger.
Misstep from EDG. Meko gets head-butted backwards, and that Slicing Maelstrom does nothing. Apprehend pulls Rain over back, and he's going to be the sacrificial queen of the Xur side. Rekkles is left a little bit alone, and Koro has got the Noxian Might. Flash comes up from Clearlight, but Rekkles manages to get away. Super Mega Death Rocket gets a kill, gets a reset, gets Rekkles excited. He's got a double. He's looking for the triple. Look for the zap. Is it on cooldown? Not going to get fired just yet. A 2 for 2.
A bit of a weird fight for Fnatic. Engage happened. Very nice headbutt from Yellowstar at first against Mako. Getting that cannon ulti away, but Fibron had to teleport in. A bit delayed, and they had to give up at least Raynova at first.
And again, you are left with Jinx and Azir up though, so Fnatic can take an objective afterwards. They get a lot of damage on that turret. Mid-lane pressure here. They don't stick around for it actually because of the early revive times here for EDG so far. Did get about half of it.
Keep seeing this mix for Fnatic in terms of how they want to play the game. Last game it was, okay, Reckless, you just sit on your own in lane, Goonie, we camp for you over and over. This game, they've been giving all the big waves to Reckless on this Jinx, letting him farm up as much as possible, and that's paying off in this fight. But look at how late Fibron is going to be to the party.
Big difference there was also teleport use for EDG. Almost everybody used their flashes, one left on each side, but now Fnatic do have the teleport advantage. We can see the cross-map play after this. There's the Emperor's Divide, though, to put a stop to the Stampede and allow Fnatic the counter-attack here to pick up the double. And remember, they also got the turret out of that as well.
As we jump back into game, Huni was under pressure from Echo, Koro, and Deft, but he does get out alive. The rest of Fnatic, are they grouped in the middle lane?
Why is EDG sending Deft to try and gank someone? He needs to sit in mid and always wave clear, so Fnatic cannot just keep pushing the waves up so easily and then rotate between the lanes. Look here now, suddenly see both Dragon and bot lane towers open because Fnatic freely got to push mid tower and just move through the jungle.
Second Dragon should be picked up there for 0 cost to Fnatic. Huni gets the big top lane farm.
Oh, he got the whole turret, not even just damage off of it.
Grabs that tower, and they extend their lead further and further away. That Stampede becomes less and less worrying when you're charging at them with bunnies instead of rhinoceroses.
Yeah. You can't afford to misallocate your resources if you only have one real wave clear there.
Especially because
Def
Kassadin
time in transit cost them a whole turret and dragon.
Kassadin is so key to catching off the targets and just chase after them, slow them down your own single target damage. EDG today, whenever they're falling behind, have shown us some very poor shot calling. Randomly kind of move members around, don't really know how to react to what Fnatic is bringing.
But you could say that's true of their World Championship showing thus far.
Sure.
It's been a tough showing for EDG. They fell so far behind the Bangkok Titans. Had to pull that game back. And as a team, they just seem to be coming apart a little bit, despite Koro returning. They find themselves in another incredibly difficult situation as they get to 20 minutes. They're down that 4,000 gold. And Fnatic poised to advance to the semifinals, poised to go to Brussels.
Yeah. Things do look very difficult for EDG right now. If you want to try and look at it from their point of view, they have to now rely on a mistake, an unforced error from Fnatic. Because all their big playmaking abilities are down. All the flashes were blown. Both teleports were blown in the last one. So right now they're just trying to play defensive vision, sort of wait for the big flashes to come back, because it's an all-in team. You pop Sivir ultimate, you try and have everybody pile on and jump back and hope that you can burst down someone from Fnatic. Meanwhile, Fnatic keep taking more, not allowing EDG a moment.
Red buff stolen away. Feathervin takes away a bunch of hit points on that top tower. And with Huni has teleport available, he is matching Pawn split push.
With no TP on the side of EDG. So again, they invest everything onto that fight in mid lane, trade 2 for 2 and even lose a tower. That was kind of the way for EDG to get back in the game, because they're going to keep trying to split push with the Castellan. But Fnatic also runs double teleport this game because Feathervin knows what's going to happen. So he can also sit in the side lanes and try and at least push it back.
We've got a little bit of time here, and we've mentioned how EDG have struggled this series. I think a little bit of props to Fnatic. There was a fair amount of fear from local fans that Fnatic may be a little shaky. Their week 1 performance wasn't great. Their game against HQ had a couple of questions, and as a team, the week's prep has seemed to pay off.
Yeah, I think a very big deal for Fnatic is they're showing us more champions that fits the meta really well. Jinx for Reckless is so key for me because he was playing Sivir and Kennen as basically only AD carry all the time. Was that going to be a big issue? Turns out that EDG thought it was, so they picked him away, but he just picks Jinx instead.
And it's even more funny that even if they have Reckless on the end game carry and they're feeding him all this farm, they still have Huni on a snowball champion Riven, who's actually playing a sort of utility role. He's split pushing so well, using the mobility so well to gain map advantages for his team. Meanwhile, they get their tank that they need in the support pick. Yellowstar on the Alistar. His ultimate is one of the only supports that can really turn into a mid-game and late-game tank because of the power of his ultimate. And here he goes, playmaking as well.
And a flash forward, that unbreakable will is up. Yellow's been caught. He does have flash. Yellowstar may have bitten off more than he can chew. Pawn is looking to chase with Riftwalk. Here comes Reckless. The Mega Death Rocket does not find a target, and Yellowstar sent home with a drink in hand. Yellow drops the cask, and they get one, punishing the engage.
Well, Yellowstar went
That was a large man to pick a fight with.
Yeah, a little bit crazy in that one.
Teleport behind, gentlemen. Koro wants Fnatic blood. Maiko comes in and Rainover holds him in place. Feathervin puts the golden disc down, but it may not be enough. The upper hand pulls Reckless backwards, and EDG will not go down without a fight. There's a double kill for Huni, but it's matched by a triple kill for Koro.
Great job by EDG pouncing on Fnatic with the opening that they created. That Yellowstar made that unforced error we were looking for the EDG fans, and EDG are able to jump on them for it. Fnatic need to calm down. They still have the advantage here. They can still pull this back. They just have to wait for everyone to regain map control. But look at EDG. They don't let Fnatic get away with that mistake.
And we see what their comp can do when it gets to take these fights here, chasing onto the backline. But why is Fnatic staying? You just lost your support and you're against double teleport. Why would you ever start pushing? That's what EDG really can punish. Great move here, get the flank, get Feathervin down instantly, and they win the fight. Fnatic cannot make another one of those mistakes, because then suddenly they cast it in and so on, and start getting completely out of control.
Yeah, I still think that Fnatic can regain control of this
100%.
fairly easily, though.
Still in the lead. Kobe, you've talked about the Riven, the snowballs ahead or snowballs behind. At this stage where he's got a small CS advantage, what's the relative power level of this between, I don't know, Yamcha and Super Saiyan? No, but seriously.
Pre-Super Saiyan Gohan.
For Huni, not the...
Actually, it's a Piccolo.
It's a Piccolo?
Yeah.
One arm or two?
two.
Okay, we'll stop. We completely lost the fish.
You're going too
completely
deep.
lost the fish. Dragon has
waiting for the
respawned in the meantime. And EDG are the ones with control of the river for now. They've pulled it out.
This is bold by EDG.
Fnatic might want to try and rush a Baron instead and force EDG away from it. Huni's down here on the bottom side, trying to be annoying. There's no teleport this time around for EDG, so harder to get that flank going. Fnatic really wants to get a 5-on-5 team fight, where they can protect Reckless and Febiven.
Where they can set up as well. Again, the teleports are down. They have to work around these big cooldowns of the teleports and the flashes from EDG. EDG, every time they have these up, then they make the big all-in play.
Risky for EDG. Now, look here. Huni's on the side. Fnatic was looking to pull the trigger.
Huni wasn't able to find the angle in EDG. They are drawing this game out. That gold lead is shrinking in a relative value. And that's their first sort of aggressive, positive play that we've seen in a long period of time.
They've shown that they still have bite. Fnatic not afraid, though.
Wow, this Yellow Star engaging and then putting his team in a disadvantageous position and actually cost Fnatic the control in the map frame.
Sure, but like that mistake, okay, that happens. You back away, then if you are Fnatic, you don't start pushing against EDG with 2 TPs behind.
That was a
Series of mistakes.
compounded event, yeah.
That was really the big one for me, at least. Now, Huni, we talk about him on this Riven. This game is not going to be about him. It's Febiven and Reckless, the damage they can deal in these big team fights. If Huni can be annoying and trade his life for death, it's almost worth it every single time for them.
And this is where the absence of Tahm Kench this time around really does start to mean something. Def does not have too much safety here against Kassadin. Kassadin, now that Pawn also has a Zonias, can jump right in, chunk him out, and look for the re-engage with the rest of the Sivir boosted team.
See if they can enable those reset dunks from Koro and that knocks into a team.
And that's the one for me as well. With Kassadin, he can go in and be annoying, but he needs the rest of the team to follow him. He needs to set up that Darius to get that first kill. So Flash and TP for Koro are so key in these big team fights, because otherwise he's just running at them with this big axe, and it's very difficult for him to get to the backline against an Azir wall, against an Alistar and all this kind of CC. So really, Koro's positioning in these fights can win the game for EDG.
40 to 50 seconds on both Flash and Teleport for Koro. Pawn not far off, so EDG will have all their summoners available. Short for Fnatic. They farmed themselves up a game, a noticeable lead. They know the teleports are down, and EDG are going to be so late to this Baron party. Delab and Mako are nearby, but Pawn and Koro are not. Baron's going low, 1,000 HP. It will be secured as Rainover smites it down. Yellow Star's on the front line drawing attention, and Maiko, he's dropped. Reckless is looking to run down Delab. Pawn has arrived, and Huni's on the back line. Featherfin gets the kill. It's the carries Defisho wanted to see. The key strike will stun up EDG as Yellow Star re-engages. He gives his life for the cause, and a flash forward for Rainover gets the knock up, the shut down, the kill for Featherfin. Koro's down, and Fnatic with a 4-on-3 siege.
Redemption play for Yellow Star there, out of the Baron pit. Didn't even have to use Flash for that engage. They take the Baron, and they're able to clean up right afterwards. Now, the Baron-empowered siege, Fnatic can push into inhibitors.
This Alistar pick here again for Yellow Star. When they take Baron, he's always denying the enemy jungler the chance to try and smite it, headbutts him away. It's very, very smart play from Fnatic, but also EDG trying to take a blue buff while Fnatic is sitting around that Baron for the last 5-6 minutes with no teleport. Super risky, and they got punished.
With all the damage that Fnatic had, you know, the 3 lanes of threat, they can burn this down. They have Huni.
And look at Yellow Star.
Huni didn't even have to teleport in. He just followed along. So Vivian absolutely destroying the support Kennen there.
He didn't even get the blue buff.
Not worth. Well, EDG out of position, and Fnatic punish it ruthlessly.
Now he's gonna get it.
They can taste
He was preparing
victory.
the blue buff.
Hey, it'll have a longer duration now.
Yeah, well played.
1 blue for 5 purples.
Good trade, good trade.
You actually stumped me with that one, Kobe.
Wait, you don't...
No, I know.
Baron-
I know. It's 5 purple bucks, but it's not the same value by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that's the whole point here.
You need to add
Trevor.
Kappa to the
Actually,
end of that one.
Yellow Star doesn't have one. It's only 4. Now is it worth?
Okay, there we go. I'll take that trade. I'll take that trade. Reckless with that BT, Edge, and Shiv pushing the wave in. Pow Pow wants to take down this inner turret. Feathervin did so much work to drop it low earlier.
He's gonna flank.
Let's find out.
They have to win this fight.
Is thrown for death. The body slam gets interrupted, and Clearlove cannot chase further thanks to the Flame Chompers. Reckless takes him down as Goro and EDG are running for their lives. The Flash Wind Slash does not dash anybody's life, and Huni is alive thanks to Face of the Mountain. Yellow Star saves his life. The AoE rocket from Reckless get the second of the fight. They've got the tower and they're on the inhib.
Once again, I'm looking at Yellow Star in these fights here. We mentioned how Koro has to be able to get to the back line to get the reset instantly. Headbutts him away, zones away here, make sure his carries are sitting so far back they can deal the damage, and EDG couldn't get a flank.
Also, Vivin laying down the soldiers as they kite, and then instantly turning. So much DPS coming out of this Fnatic lineup.
Fnatic have broken the base of EDG at 30 minutes.
And the coordination for EDG completely died. Why don't you have a double teleport with home guards coming in here? If this is the fight you're looking for, look how hard it is to reach the backline. Yellow Star denies Koro, and suddenly 2 carries are sitting back here from Fnatic, and nobody's even close. The Kassadin didn't even have a chance to reach him. You gotta coordinate the double teleport in if you wanna aim for these 2 carries.
So close to killing Huni. Huni wants to kill Pawn. They are equal on level. There's a flash available for Pawn, so he's gonna buy some time. Rift walks over the wall, then flashes away. Gets caught by the zap.
Keep going for Vivin.
And
don't let him get away with this.
Not that time. No flash. Pawn manages to get away, but Fnatic have the Dragon. That's their 3rd.
Yep, they're gonna shove right up bottom lane here as well. Darius actually is getting a pretty good push on top, so it'll buy them some time. EDG, though, definitely very difficult defense coming up.
Well, Fnatic looking to be the 2nd European team in the top 4 at the 2015 World Championship. They need to knock over one more Nexus. And they've got EDG against the ropes.
They've looked so good this series as well. After stumbling in week 1 of the group stages, Fnatic have made such a good recovery here at Worlds.
And it's a team that really prides themselves in being able to prepare for these best out of 5 so well. They talked about how they didn't have enough time to prepare for week 1. Didn't have enough information maybe to prepare, and now it's probably gonna be a kill.
Well, the great chase continues. Born's gonna rift walk over. He might be able to kill Feathervin, and he does! Born gets one before Reckless zaps him down. Gets excited and looks for more.
Yeah, he's got the double buff here on Reckless as well, but doesn't pull out the chase. Fnatic now, they do have minion wave pushing in top. Even without Vivin, they might decide to push this up because Vivin does have teleport, so they can prep the siege while he's dead.
Gotta farm the jungle.
And have him teleport in. Yeah, well, Huni's been playing the utility role this time around. He's got the Ghost Blade even with the early last whisper here.
Is that a support item?
Yes, the support Ghost Blade.
Well, Huni's continuing to pull side lane pressure and threat. Farmed up another CS advantage.
It's a really, really important thing too, because earlier in the group stages, several times, you know, Huni will be sort of wandering through the jungle and get caught and cost the team a kill. However, this game, he's done so well at escaping every single time. Not every single time. Most of the time when EDG collapsed.
The rest of the team was able to secure buffs. I mean, Koro and Pawn were moving towards their bottom lane. That Huni was pushing in when Fnatic took the first Baron. 6,000 gold Baron power play. The 6th largest, in fact, of all Baron plays at the World Championship.
Baron has been wearing the Fnatic jersey today, that's for sure. He's been helping out a lot, but really for EDG, seems to me they were surprised with Fnatic changing up the strategy from time to time. Now the fact they suddenly play around Reckless a lot more as the carry, and Feathervin, of course, in the mid lane instead of Huni. Where EDG maybe were expecting every game to somewhat be the same. Okay, they're gonna camp for Huni and then we're gonna try and shut it down.
Yeah, EDG to me look like a team that's still trying to adapt to the Worlds meta. They tried to pull off the 4 global comp, you know, after seeing it such success here at Worlds in such a short time, they tried to learn it and use it. And then they, in such a short time, they also try and use the Veigar Siege comp after seeing it here, but it didn't work out for them either. Fnatic burning this Baron down.
Well, they've got it before EDG are even in range, and Yellowstone started to initiate. Pawn is knocked up in the air so long he may as well have frequent flyer miles. Pawn will try to rift walk away and get shut down. Rainover is out. It's a double for Reckless. He wants to run down more. Def, his brother in arms, will be his dead man in arms. That's a triple. Huni finds Clear Love in the back, and Reckless with the rest of Fnatic. They're on to the Nexus, and Fnatic will advance to the semi-finals. The only team to do that 3 times in the World Championships. Fantastic play from Fnatic, and great to see sportsmanship between Reckless and Deft. But truthfully, on this day, Fnatic simply outplayed EDG in almost every way.
Hey, we had a lot of questions coming in here for Fnatic. We didn't know what other AD carries they would play. Would they sometimes play around Reckless? And they did.
The euphoria is running high, with China now being eliminated from the World Championship. The only teams that remain are from Korea and Europe. We're down to 3 semi-finals locked in, and 1 more to face Fnatic tomorrow. But for Fnatic, what a way to go. 3-0 against EDG.
Very, very impressive series from Fnatic. And the teams tomorrow, the Korean teams going up against each other, are going to be looking at this as well. Can't concentrate on that right now. They've got work set out ahead of them. But Fnatic definitely look to be contenders.
Yeah, again, we see new picks, new strategies coming. They're mixing it up. That's what I feel like a lot of European teams always lacked. Like, they had like one good strategy coming into a World Championship, but it wasn't enough to really be a contender. Now Fnatic are showing all these different styles. Origin has been playing well. So it's looking very good for these 2 teams.
They even show that they're not too scared to give up the banning on Mordekaiser.
They banned Tom Kensto, so they knew where the real
look, that's
power
good
was.
to see, because
the real power
for
comes
Fnatic,
to great health.
I think it's important to note that as a team, they address their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Something that we've seen from this team from week 1 to week 2, there was growth. Week 2 to week 3, there were questions, and now those questions have been answered. So as a team, they're showing development. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for EDG, who now exit the World Championship. They substituted amazing Jay for Koro, and maybe his Fiora was okay at times, but it just did not bring the magic ingredient that EDG needed.
Didn't feel like they were able to adapt enough to all the changes. Fnatic, though, they definitely, as a team and as individual players, made so many improvements.
Yeah, and again, Fnatic talked about how coming into week 1, they didn't have enough information and time to prepare for those matches, and the team didn't feel like they were playing as Fnatic. That was changed for week 2. They had more time to scout. Now coming in, obviously, to the semifinal, you have so many VODs you can go through now of these teams they're going to face, so they have enough time to prepare, have enough information, and that's what they normally use to get these very good pick and ban phases coming into these best out of 5 series. And they really pride themselves in having a great infrastructure around the team and then star players in every single position, and that's why they become such a good team.
Yeah, and it's working out for them as a team, demonstrating the ability to grow, to adapt, to lean on all sources. Reckless and Yellowstar, you can see, are getting set up with Shock shortly to celebrate that victory and the fact that they will be seen in Brussels in the semifinals. But what does this leave us now for the patch? Where does this leave us for the state of the game? Because I think the picks and bans is one of the most interesting. I had a discussion yesterday. At what point does GP and Mord start being let through? Because you can get one if you let both through in theory.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think we'll see it again.
Maybe
really? Not at all?
I think we're going to see it, but not like it's going to be open every game. I think the way to look at it, right, on Red side is Is there, let's say, a Tom Kench pick that is so important to remove that Mordekaiser goes down in value? Often not, because Mordekaiser and GP is that strong.
So I'll amend that. I don't think we'll see it until a team is already down 2 games and they're feeling like they have to pull out something.
Why not game 1?
Why not game 1?
Yeah, game 1 you can
You've
surprise.
got a game to play with. See if it works. You get an advantage and you can do it the rest of the series.
Then you can say that you think you'll see it. I think that we won't.
I'm just spitballing it. I'm just spitballing. Because it's something that at some point you have to answer the question, what do you do about GP Mord? We're seeing now in the playoffs teams are banning it on blue side. Mordekaiser, that is. So that's already a change from what
It's like, I feel like we saw a good preview, though. I was talking about Gangplank is actually pretty good into Mordekaiser because of all the zone control and all the slows and how it's so dangerous for Mordekaiser to try and navigate around barrels. It's scary to give those both up because they could take the Gangplank. And after we saw the remake, they decided not to leave those 2 open and not to go for that again because they got to the later stages of the game and they're like, we weren't able to snowball this. Mordekaiser will probably lose now.
Undefeated both GP and Mordekaiser. We'll have to wait to see when that will change. For now, though, the interview is ready, so we can head over to Shux to talk to the victorious bottom lane of Fnatic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Joined here by Yellow Star and Reckless after making it to the semi-final of the World Championship with Fnatic. Let's maybe start about the beginning of the series. I can imagine that was the most stress going in there and that really chaotic play coming out of EDG, which cost you when you played them at MSI last. Talk to me about that game, your beginning to the series.
Yeah, especially when we saw the triple TP, we're like, oh, what's going on? How should we plan to fight? What should we do? Because it was really surprising. And beforehand, they actually picked Jace, something that is not common. So we were not panicking. We're just talking, and see how we should do it. And in the end, we found a good plan, and we executed it properly. So it was smooth.
It was smooth. Reckless, how did it go from that point on when you knew that even with some strategy that you hadn't seen before, you could beat them? How did you take the rest of the series?
I think we took the rest of the series quite calmly, honestly. I mean, game 1, they showed something we haven't even practiced against or seen before. So we had to adapt in the actual game and talk a lot and make sure that we don't play their game, because obviously they wanted to play one of these games where we gank top and there are 5 people top, and then we gank bot and there are 5 people bot. So we just tried to adapt as much as possible in that game. And then after the game, we were kind of well, since we're 1-0 now, they might go back to standard or they keep going with this kind of things. So we were I think we just kept up the communication, honestly, both in the game and outside of the game. And then we made sure we were fully prepared for anything they could throw at us. And yeah, we showed some strategies of our own as well. And I think we did a good job today.
I think all around you showed that you can tackle a lot of things that people throw your way. Yellow Star, you've been in 5 World Championships already, yet there seems to be a distinctly different vibe to you in this squad. Could you name maybe one thing that you think is or working very well in this team that's allowing you to play this good? You can just go ahead.
There is no real miracle. There is no secret. The only reason we're here right now is because we're practicing. Everyone get along really well. I think that helps a lot. So as long as you have fun together, I'm always well surrounded. So I really enjoy the game. I really enjoy working with them, playing with them, hanging with them. So I think this is what makes us strong, really.
No magical element. Reckless, you've been looking for that squad to do great things with. Tell me how you've experienced Worlds so far and how far you guys could possibly go. Is the thought slowly creeping in that you could go all the way, or do you not let that happen?
I think after the group stages, we were quite not quite sure where we were as a team. I mean, we showed 3 pretty good games and then pretty bad ones, honestly. So going into the series, even today, we weren't really sure which Fnatic were going to show up. But at the same time, we're a team that put down all of our time, honestly. We just wake up, play the game, and then go to sleep. And we talk about everything and make sure that we're fully prepared for every situation that can possibly happen. And I feel like we came together today here on the stage. And if we keep going like this, then I think we have all the chances in the world of taking the whole thing. But at the same time, Okay, to continue on my point, I feel like so far we've been taking day by day, and I don't think going away from that is something we should look to do. So therefore, KT and Ku is our next enemy, and we're going to put full focus on them tomorrow and then prepare fully for next week.
All right. One more thing, maybe, because I know that we also have a chat with Febiven coming up later, and it has been remarkable how much he seems to have grown between MSI and now. Could you tell me a little bit about your experience with him and his resolve?
Yeah, so Febiven, for his first year, it's really impressive on how fast he improved. We had to work a lot with him, like the mindset, because obviously when it's your first year and then you get to play against the best players in the world, it's not easy at all, especially when you're that young. And I mean, we have a really good staff behind us that is working really hard as well. So, you know, it's just a combination of everything.
Combination of factors. And 2 European teams in the semifinals at Worlds. Also, and one of them is you guys. Finally, is there anything you want to say to the crazy fans here in London, Yellow Star or Reckless?
I mean, Paris was awesome, but I feel like this is our place, you know? Like, London is our place, Brussels is our place. And then Berlin after that is our place too. And with 2 teams in the semifinals, there's very high chances that either of us makes it all the way. And I expect all of you guys there.
Anything left to add, or are you good?
Thank you for being awesome, and just you coming here to watch our games means a lot to us, so thank you.
The cheering will go on and on. Cheering will go on and well-deserved. Thank you guys very much. Fantastic performance. Fnatic in the semifinals. And now back to the analysts to wrap up the day.
Thank you, Shocks. A much-deserved victory for both of those gentlemen, as well as the rest of the Fnatic organization. The 3-0, not exactly what we expected. When we had talked about this matchup at the beginning of the day, a lot of us were thinking we were going to go to 5 games. But here it is, the 3-0, pretty commanding.
I thought that Huni was going to get a lot of resources and roll over Koro, who we haven't seen in 2 months. And I thought that 3-0 was something that we definitely could see today. But after that first game, I did think it was going to go to 5, just because of how close it was and the different strategies that we were seeing.
Yeah, and I think that this was a 3-0 series, and don't get me wrong, Fnatic made me a believer at MSI. I think I said it back then as well, that I went into MSI and I didn't really have really high expectations for this European lineup. And ever since then, I've always kept a really close eye on Fnatic. And I think the thing that impressed me today is that game 1, to me, Yellow Star carried that game. That re-engage was superb, and he brought them back into it, right, with great shot calling. And then the second game that they won, it was all about Huni in the carry top lane. Then this game is legitimately a protect the Jinx comp that they run through the AD carry, who just absolutely goes off. This is a team that won 3 games in 3 completely different fashion and was looking to win game 1.5, the one that didn't complete, by stalling out a game when they're normally an early game team. If you can play League of Legends in all these different fashions, every single time you get on the Rift, you go with a certain kind of advantage. And EDG didn't show up in the way that I expected today, but that is partially because Fnatic didn't let them show up in that fashion and played commanding League of Legends.
Something I want to add, in the final game, the EDG's draft, it kind of felt like one of those drafts they did in the group stages, where it's kind of reliant on the enemy to make mistakes. We saw this one moment where they TP'd in and kind of did this pincer movement on the Fnatic roster, where they actually took a good fight, but Riven, of course, Huni kind of saved it. He saved it big time. And them drafting like this feels kind of disrespectful. It kind of plays into what you've been saying all the time, that the Chinese teams are a bit cocky coming into this. And seeing them draft in such an important game in that matter is kind of disappointing to me.
I think we saw it in the draft, and we saw it in the play as well. When they were chasing down Febiven in game 1, and they could have double TP'd to the bot lane to possibly end the game, that was something I thought they were just overlooking. They could have at least tried it. They could have gone for that play, and it showed in their draft as well. But something I want to touch on is the draft, the Fnatic that you were touching on. because not only are they getting a great draft that they're comfortable with afterwards and they get to pat Daylor on the back, they know how to play whatever comp they come out with. They're saying, this is our win condition. This is what we need to do to win the game and put ourselves in the driver's seat. And I believe Daylor and Yellowstar are the two people to credit with that, because right before Champion Select ends, they're figuring out, what are we doing? How are we playing the first 20 minutes of this game? And they take over with in-game shot calling, and I love that.
Yeah, and that's what I really want to hit on here, because when I talk to Deficio, and I talk to him a lot about the Chinese teams, we say that EDG, like when we give them a name, are like the chess masters. When they're playing the best League of Legends, they're trading pieces with you until they can take your king. Like, that is legitimately how they play the map. What happened today, which is why it's so impressive for me, and now why I'll watch Fnatic even closer, is that Fnatic won every single one of those trades in the end. And then even when it looked like EDG was going to make that game-winning change, Fnatic just did something, right? Like, they kited out with Victor for long enough to save the game. Huni somehow picks up a kill on the AD carry to delay a Baron that would have come through in 22 minutes in that game. Somehow a headbutt pulverized at like 3,000 gold deficit in game one completely swings the whole momentum. And if you're able to just have X-factor moments like that, it's not like they have one. They had one in like every single game. You're just going to win League of Legends.
It's also the fact that, like, in the first game, that big team fight, the thing that was worrying me coming into this and predicting that Fnatic would win, the one thing that kept me worried for Fnatic was EDG's kind of way of fighting in the later, the scrappiness and the way they kind of find intelligent ways to catch people off guard. And that never happened. The moment we saw that fight that kind of won them the game in the first game, I was relieved.
Well, and that's where I want to get into the scrappiness and this game in particular, because like, yet again, we saw EDG draft themselves into a low wave clear comp that has a difficult time sieging, slightly better because they have the Gragas and the Sivir together, so there's slightly more engage, and they at least have a ranged AD carry. But they continued to draft themselves into these compositions, and this goes to your point about the Daylor and the coaching staff for Fnatic responding in kind with a perfect composition to counter that. And where is it coming from, or what is the stubbornness for EDG that they wanted to stay in that mode?
So one thing I will say is EDG, in my opinion, and I think a lot of Chinese fans' opinion, is they're the best coached Chinese team. So this just shows, like Aaron and his coaching staff, they have people like Reaper that are like great Korean players that like train their top laners. Like, they are honestly a very well-coached team. But it speaks to the fact that when they play against Chinese teams, they are missing part of the meta currently, because it looks like right now, China versus China is all the Chinese teams are giving us, and the rest of the world has somehow figured out a meta that China cannot play to. They look underprepared compared to the Europeans and the Koreans.
Now, Fnatic came up big today, and playing a huge part in Fnatic's sweep to advance to the semifinals was their mid laner, Forbidden, who racked up 16 kills and dealt over 36% of his team's damage across 3 games, earning the title of Player of the Series.
Not only was he consistent across these games in particular and playing at an extraordinarily high level as a rookie to be a top 4 mid laner here at Worlds and put himself in that position in the semifinals, this is a guy that plays so many different styles. When we first saw him, he was a Riven one-trick main mid laner. Then he decided, you know what, I'll play some Xerath, Azir, Orianna, and now he's playing so many different things. And this is the thing I love about Febiven, is he's not just a one-style guy. We see people who don't have that versatility to him, but he is definitely the full package mid laner.
And what's funny, Spawn, you talked about how the team had game-winning X-Factor moments or stars in each game. You know, Yellowstar game 1, Huni game 2, and then a Jinx game 3. None of those are Febiven, right? But all of 3 of those were made possible by the consistency of their mid laner, and that is why he is landing in this spot of Player of the Series.
And one thing I want to say is, like, doing it against other mid laners, sure, that's impressive. Doing it against Pawn 3 games in a row, 4 games in a row actually, because they played 4 games against each other, is just like out of the world crazy. This is a guy that is like, he absorbs people's powers and throws it back at you, and Forbidden was just able to take it to him like every single game.
And of course, it's like, I'm just still in my mind drawing the comparison to him facing Pawn at MSI, and it was just night and day. And today we had this glorious mid lane matchup that was so even throughout the game.
He's just a sponge of knowledge, and he just keeps getting better. He's soaking everything in, not just pressure, but information.
Well, why don't we hear from the man himself? Right now, we've got Jat standing by with our Player of the Series.
Thanks, Dash. I'm joined here by Febiven, who just 3-0'd EDG. You've had a small amount of time to kind of soak in the victory. How do you feel in general about that series?
I feel really great after the series, because I really didn't expect that we would 3-0 them, because They're a really strong team. They have really strong individual players, but we managed to get a good early game every game, basically. And when EDG falls behind, their team communication falls apart, I think, because they speak different languages in the game, and we were just a better team after getting the good early game.
It definitely felt like you guys carried a lot of momentum throughout the series as well. In the interview just now, Shox asked Yellowstar about you specifically and said that you have worked a lot on your mindset this year. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've done to improve, especially your mindset in game?
For me, I've been focusing on my mindset because it was my weakest point. I try to always stay positive, always try to learn anything I can. And even though it's hard in Europe solo queue because there's so many trolls, and it's I managed to get a good mindset for this tournament, and it's helped me a lot because 1 year ago I would get mad or like frustrated very fast, but now it's completely different. So if something bad happens in the game, I can just get over it, and then I can just focus on the game and win the game.
And the upcoming game will be the semifinals now. You guys face the winner of the Coup Tigers versus KT Rolster. Ask this question every time. Is there a team you would rather face after the results tomorrow? And how are you looking at that matchup that's happening tomorrow?
I think I would rather... for me, it doesn't matter who we face, actually. But I think Coup is the better team, so I think we're probably going to face them. But I'm not sure yet because scrims are not like the real matches, so it can go either way. We have a lot of time off now, or like a few days, and we will definitely be prepared.
Have you actually had a chance to scrim both of those teams back in the group stages?
Yes, we have been scrimming basically every team.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Febin, for the interview. Congratulations on the victory. Let's send it back to Dash at the desk.
Thank you, Jad. I think his point about his mindset was particularly obvious in game one. Because it was so hectic and crazy, we saw Pawn making plays in other lanes, and that didn't shake Fabivin. He still managed a 30 CS lead up and picked up 2 kills of his own to match Pawn.
And I absolutely love that, too, because when there's 3 TPs, and even Yellowstar was talking about it, it's so frustrating. They're all over the map. You don't know how to counter this, and you have to come up with a strategy mid-game. But I also want to talk about what he said, where he said they had a good early game every game. On the 9 games that are on record here for Fnatic, they have gotten first blood in every single game of the World Championship for them, save for the remake. That's incredible. They're having such a great early game, and they're knowing what to pressure on the map, when to pressure early. That gets them that lead, that gets them to play their composition out later.
I just want to know what the heck they feed European players, because they are so chill. That's like the biggest game of his life. He like gets man of the series. But like in all honesty, like speaking about his mindset, like there was a moment in one of the games, I think it was game 2, where Azir altered Pawn into his jungler, and his jungler completely whiffed the gank. Like he tunneled under the Azir ult to be on the wrong side. Like if that was me, like once again for us to pick on my keyboard, but like, you can just see that he's like cool, calm, and collected the whole way through. And this speaks to like how good Fnatic are as a team. They can make fumbles, but it's not about the fumbles because you forget them so quickly because of how many good players they have.
Spawn toxic.
It's
not just to my keyboard.
Just to the keyboard. Okay.
It's like when I hear Fabio speak about his mindset, this is the mindset as a coach you want in every player. The beauty lies in the process. You always take something good out of anything that is bad. No matter how bad some games go, you need to take what is beautiful in it because you can learn from anything. And me hearing him saying that gives me goosebumps because I love hearing it.
But he's apparently learned that mindset, and it's been kind of given to him by his teammates and Daylor. What would you do? How would you get this mindset into your players? Are you still working on that?
Don't get me started. I'll speak about it. I need a 30
That's
minutes.
For later. That's for after this show. Accolades for Fnatic all around, but Fnatic's coordination was really on point in today's games, and Mr. Xavier took notice, writing, "That Baron fight, the wombo combo of AoEs, EDG just melted." Let's check out your world's big play of the day.
Jumped in. Def has got dunked by the Cataclysm, and he's dropped. The Grand Challenge is onto Huni, and it procs, healing up EDG. But it does not matter. Goro's killed through the heal. Clearlove stunned up by Reckless. The Pulverize connects. Fnatic find 3 kills.
And Yellowstar, the captain, the shot caller for the team, makes the play. He dodges the hook from Mako, circles around, Reignover teleports in, and they're able to get the fight they want.
The thing that makes this place so impressive to me is the only international tournament we'd seen so far this year, like for a Riot affiliated one, was MSI. And EDG won that tournament off 20-minute team fights into Baron. And Fnatic, in game 1 of a series against EDG, just completely stomped them in a 20-minute team fight. It was 20 minutes, 50 seconds when it kicked off. Took Baron, took the game, took the series. They did it like nearly every single game. Like, you cannot ask for more growth out of a team.
Yeah, for sure. Right after this fight, I was relieved because I thought this was the only part of the game where EDG would completely crush them. But I got relieved. I could breathe out.
Yeah, they were down in kills as well right before that fight. Fnatic was clawing back. That TP from Deft, though, that's what I was talking about. When you bring TP on an AD carry and you don't use it correctly.
Yeah, but once again, never underestimate pressure in a game. If you surprise a team like that, people are going to make fucking mistakes. Deft is like one of the best AD carries in the world, and he just completely fumbled it.
I felt in that particular game, even though Fnatic might not have been prepared for this particular strategy, I don't feel like EDG were too prepared with this strategy.
Exactly.
Because in the 20-minute mark, it kind of felt lost. That we didn't really see Jace
That was
being
the question
active.
mark. That was the question mark.
That was
It
the
reminds me
question
of
mark
when
in the business plan.
Maple took cleanse instead of ignite on Ahri, and he didn't feel comfortable with it, and he cleansed in front of a Gragas that had no HP. Right? You have to be trained with these things.
You have Fnatic's win leaves just one spot open in next week's semifinals, which will be claimed tomorrow when KT Rolster takes on the KOO Tigers in our last quarterfinal showdown. Gentlemen, knowing that Fnatic is going to go up against one of these teams, Jat asked Febivin which of these two teams he'd rather face. He thinks KOO is the stronger team. Who do you think Fnatic has a better shot up against in the semifinals?
Personally, I feel like if KT face Fnatic, I feel like KT have a stronger chance. But KOO against Fnatic, I feel KOO will beat. Like, KOO is the kind of team that dissects team, and Fnatic have shown so much diversity, so it's so hard to dissect anything at all. But when it comes to KT and the KOO matchup, I feel like KOO is going to win, but I feel like KT is the stronger opponent for Fnatic, because if Huni is in a situation where he falls behind, it kind of shows. But in these 3 games, he was almost never behind.
So in your opinion, Fnatic's in a good spot, given the fact that the team they're better suited against, you think will win in tomorrow, or will lose in tomorrow's matchup?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I think that KOO definitely is a team that's very experienced against KT, and I expect them to be able to take the matchup. And honestly, I don't know who is favored in the KOO versus Fnatic matchup. All I really care about is it's Smeb versus Huni, Riven versus Riven, and if there was a blind pick game 5, I wish I could just see that one-on-one top lane.
Well, there's not, so let me crush your hopes and dreams right now. Moving on to Zyrene.
I think it's going to be KT. I feel like I'm on the someday train right now. I love the way that guy plays top lane, and I want to see him up against Huni just to have that clash of the Titans.
Yep. All right, well, we will be finding out who they'll play tomorrow when our coverage of the Korean Clash gets underway tomorrow at 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. That's 6 a.m. Pacific, so rest up, gentlemen. Until then, we need to go on cooldown. Be sure to stick around for Worlds Tonight, which gets underway in just 15 minutes. And on behalf of everyone here covering the 2015 League of Legends World Championship, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in solo queue.
We've already crowned 2 semifinalists already, and today we find the 3rd.
Quad's in so much trouble. Yellowstar needs to hit his combo. Flashes for the knockup hit, but pulled backwards. Marco saves him. The knockup finds 2. The double finds 4. And the Maelstrom lands Edward Gaming. Did you ask for a more interesting way to start the quarterfinals? It's a messy fight so far. 2 for 2. And it's Jungler on mid lane action.
I think I remember. Yeah, the Gragas threw the ult, and Bora flew into the wall on the other side of the pit, and we were all going super ham.
So Bora did nothing last team fight, right?
I had no CD as well.
Big AoE. Mako's been tagged, and Acquired Taste will not even be needed. Get excited with Reckless. Fnatic crush Edward Gaming. Flash comes up from Fairland, but Reckless manages to get away. Super Mega Death Rocket gets a kill, gets a reset, gets Reckless excited, but it may not be enough. The apprehend pulls Reckless backwards, and EDG will not go down without a fight. It's a double for Reckless. He wants to run down more. Def, his brother in arms, will be his dead man in arms. And Fnatic will advance to the semi-finals in the World Championships. will try to rift walk away and get shut down. Rainover is out. It's a double for Reckless. He wants to run down more. Def, his brother in arms, will be his dead man in arms. And Fnatic will advance to the semi-finals.
The dust is settling here after day 3 of the quarterfinals, but the euphoria is rising because we have 2 European teams in the semifinals. And don't worry, there won't be too much euphoria because we have two people to counter it. Chat, and especially Monte Cristo looking ahead.
That's right. You know, we can enjoy the euphoria for now before it turns into the eulogy. We got 2 teams. Europe can be proud getting 2 teams into the semis, but the road's going to end there.
All right, but let's start by talking. I wanted to get it out of the way. Get it out of the way.
Please insult Europe. I really need it for the flow of this show.
It's fine, because now we can talk about EDG versus Fnatic. Before that, a lot of people said Fnatic was slightly the favorite. In my mind, it was quite equal from what we've seen, the ups and downs from both teams. But then that first game happened, Monty.
Yeah, it was generally hard to predict coming in because we didn't know if EDG would make large improvements after the group stages, but it turns out they didn't really change that much after the group stages, outside of changing the person who they didn't have the right strategy to protect in the top lane, and I felt like Fnatic did adapt pretty well.
I thought there were some improvements from EDG in terms of how they played around their top laner. It did look slightly better, but certainly not better enough, right? And that was the big key coming in. And I had predicted in my World's Pick'em, I picked Fnatic to win this match because I thought EDG had so many problems that I just was doubting that they could actually fix them all. I thought it would be closer than what we saw, that's for sure, but was a little bit of an interesting situation. I agree, it was difficult to predict, but I took what I saw as the safe side.
Yeah, I think I was talking with Doa in the back, and I was like, EDG has really bad stats coming into the group stage. He's like, well, yeah, but how bad could their stats really be? And I was like, well, they were down 6,000 gold to the Bangkok Titans. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
you pulled the Bangkok Titans card.
Yeah.
Nothing beats that card. And it turned out to be true.
So maybe the one thing from EDG that I thought that they would have more of an edge in is the pick and ban phase in the all the games. How much do you think the rest of the series was influenced by the experiment of game 1? And then, Monty, that pawn on Kassadin, you love to see it.
I hate that pick. And coming in, I have said repeatedly about EDG, no one is punishing the Kassadin use properly. They keep playing it. It has no wave clear. It takes too long to scale. Clearlove usually just camps pawn's lane, tries to get him a couple kills early to get over that hump. But we saw the wave clear against Fnatic was vastly superior. They played the pressure a lot better, got those turrets. And Kassadin really was never even relevant. I didn't like it when SKT played. Well, it was okay against SKT because there was no wave clear on the other side. I still don't like it. Still don't like it. But in these games, I thought it was atrocious.
Yeah, I think there's a situation in which Kassadin works. Generally not the situation. Like, Azir is a good pick to pick Kassadin into in general. Yes. And if you're pairing it with Sivir, that's also a decent choice. But the situation didn't merit it because I feel like Kassadin generally only works if you're consistently winning the early game, and they were consistently losing the early game. You need to have pressure in your other lanes to allow Kassadin to capitalize on it. And in that sense, it's almost like a cherry on top of an already winning team composition, which is, I think, why we don't see it that often, because it only works in those situations.
And I was very much looking forward to that matchup too, Pawn versus Febiven, whatever different things he could pull out. But Febiven proving once again that he is really, really blossoming, so to say, as a player throughout this big tournament.
Absolutely. I had my eyes on him coming in. I thought he played very well at MSI, and he's only gotten better since then, further expanded his champion pool. And he's just been wonderful to watch, and he was great again today, really making plays on a variety of different picks.
Yeah, specifically the thing I like most about Febiven is he started his foray into League of Legends just playing Ribbon, and then he was the assassin player. And then throughout all of Fnatic's undefeated run, he was playing long-range, high-damage mages like Victor and Azir, and now he's back on Assassin, so he's really showing the full range of champions is what you need to be an elite mid laner on the world stage.
Yeah, definitely. But that maybe finally about EDG, they're out of the tournament. That means there's no more representative out of the LPL, by the way, in the entire tournament. Maybe for EDG specifically, what did they lose between MSNA and now? Did all the roster changes and all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes come to cost them?
There are so many different theories, I feel like, for what happened. Like, we could almost expand it, like what happened to China in general, because EDG was supposed to be by far the best team in China. I think part of it was there was so much disruption at the very start of the year, and China had a lot of really good players before anyone had really worked out like strong infrastructure or strong strategy. Teams like SKT and teams in general in the LCK had the infrastructure in place and scaled up to that. And I think Fnatic actually kind of exists in that realm of having incredibly strong coaching and infrastructure, so they've been able to outscale EDG, who I think showed, along with the rest of the LPL, throughout all of the month that they had to prepare, they did not have good scrim practices and just completely misread preparation.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing coming in is the misread from EDG. Now, EDG has a very robust coaching staff. Aaron is obviously one of the legendary coaches in this scene, and he's got guys like Reaper, very smart guys, former players, helping him with this. But something about it didn't click. Sometimes this happens. You misread the meta coming in. Look at TSM at MSI. We all expected them to do much better than they did. They had very bad picks for that tournament. Same thing with EDG here. They're not playing around their top laner properly. And the question is, too, did they even have the tools to do this? They tried to bring in Amazing J halfway through this year. He wasn't proven to really be a good force in this meta. And Koro, when they won MSI, got through a season playing pretty much by himself in that top side on tanks. So they may not have even had the tools in place in terms of players to actually make a deep run at this event.
It's super hard to say. Like, Amazing J, coming into Worlds, we were all super hyped about Amazing J.
The meta fits him.
He was the energy pacemaker, all-star top laner that could play carries. We thought, Monty's laughing because energy pacemaker was like a 12th place LPL team, but he was the only good player on that team. J. Okay, I was hot on Amazing J coming into this.
Yeah.
Monty is never surprised.
No. When anything happens.
No, I was surprised by LGD and EDG. I was very surprised by China. I was not surprised by Amazing J.
Well, anyway, to maybe wrap up this game, we got to look at Fnatic as well. Reckless did say it here in the interview. I mean, we could take the whole thing. When CLG said that, it didn't turn out so well. But I do like their confidence is growing by the performances that they're putting down. The question is, how high is that ceiling, knowing that they are in the hardest part of the bracket to make it to the finals if we look at the opponents that they will be facing?
Yeah. Are you talking about Fnatic right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this will be a big test. Will they be able to beat the second or third best Korean team? Because I think it's very clear that SK Telecom is far above the rest of the teams in Korea, and KT Rolster and Crew Tigers are teams that drop games in the group stages. I think that, to me, is such a fascinating semifinal, no matter who gets through between KT Rolster.
Yeah, and my question about Fnatic is, in that second week when they turned it on after that very lackluster first week of group stages from Fnatic, what happens when the Kennen is banned out? We saw them play a bit of a messy game against AHQ to end out the group stages, and they just didn't look at that same level that we saw. I also think that even though Fnatic played very well today, I liked their draft, EDG dug themselves into a massive hole in the pick and ban and then didn't do anything all those games. So I don't even feel I have a very good gauge on how strong Fnatic is right now, because EDG was playing an entirely different meta to what KT and KU are going to bring against them.
Yeah, one thing about Fnatic is they're sticking to the things that work best for them throughout the regular season. Typically, they've found champions for Huni to carry on. He hasn't had success really on Gnar and maybe even much on Darius, because even though Darius has the pentakill potential, he's more of a tanky top laner, and Huni really needs to be on a more mobile assassin-type player, and they need to win the early games really, really hard in order for that strategy to work with the triple threat.
And that's going to be hard because coming into the actual bracket stage here, if we look at the first 15 minutes for both KU and KT, KU has 3.2 times as many kills as deaths in the first 15 minutes. KT has 2.25 as many times kills as deaths in the first 15 minutes. So these are teams coming in that are the two top leaders in that category. They're going head to head, and Fnatic's going to have to face them. And Huni, if he's the key, Smeb and Someday are tough opponents.
They are tough opponents. I will say, though, KU also lost twice to the Flash Wolves, who looked nothing but impressive in the very first game.
KT lost to OG?
KT lost split games with OG, but they lost to OG. So I think there's lots of vulnerabilities within both KT and the KU Tigers.
So let's talk a bit more about that matchup. You guys will be casting it actually tomorrow as well. You, of course, are the resident LCK expert. What do you make of this matchup this time around in this stage?
I don't know how this is going to go. I think KT's going to win, but it was so close the last time these two teams played a best of five. Certainly we're many patches removed from that at this stage, but KU is a team that can be very surprising.
Yeah.
They will have something wacky to play in this best of five, almost 100%, and that may actually shape the meta for the rest of the tournament, knowing how KU's meta moves have really rippled out into not only Korea, but the world before. So if they figured out something, could be very interesting. KT, they've shown a little bit of weakness, I think, against Origin, but Nagne had a bad first week. Nagne looked much better. To me, Kuro is overperforming this tournament. Nagne is underperforming. We'll see how they sort of level out tomorrow, because that could be a big factor.
Yeah, to me, KT has probably the strongest pick and ban phase that I've seen so far. And based on the way their pick and ban phase goes in the past, of pretty much always adapting to the meta very quickly and picking those champions, kind of regardless of if the players can play them or not. The longer they go into a tournament, I think the stronger that becomes, because they will become more familiar with the meta that is being handed to them. And then I also look at Curl on the other side, who is this, he's like an enigma to me, because he was the first person to play Victor, really, and now it's common stance. But he's also was a really bad Azir player during the regular season. A terrible Yasuo at IM Katowice. But he's this workhorse who just puts time into these champions and will eventually learn them. And at the time, I think he's actually strong on all the picks he needs to be strong on, unless something comes and really surprises him. So I think he's got a pretty good chance against Nagne, who's been underperforming.
And we have, he's still, speaking of that Yasuo, his Yasuo improved dramatically to where it was a major threat in Korea later on. And became good. And these are two teams that both really love to use Ashe, who both have used Malphite. We've got two top lane Riven pentakill players from this past season. It's a really fun matchup to think about.
Yeah, and think about Peekaboo and Score on KT, we're very impressed with. Will they have the Tahm Kench on their side? Will we see that? How strong of a factor will that be?
Will they make it into the enemy jungle? And then the game is over.
We'll see.
I think that's a little overblown. Sometimes they have very good vision control when they can get invades on, but so much of that comes down to the early game where Ku has either been running over CLG, which is, I think, the main reason their gold difference is so high in those 10 to 15 minutes. Like, Ku's gold difference at 10 minutes on average is like 1,100. And then at 15 minutes, only 5 minutes later, it's like 3,500.
Insane.
What happened in those 5 minutes? CLG
all the gold.
is basically what happened, where they had like 6K gold plus in those things. So.
Well, even in the games against the Flash Wolves, they were doing very well early. And that's kind of the big mystery to me about the Ku Tigers is how they lost those games to the Flash Wolves, because they were in such good control of the tempo. And then the shot calling, which is one of their strengths traditionally, sort of fell apart. We saw Smeb doing very wacky teleporting gauges with a depleted Gnar bar and really sloppy team fighting.
Yeah, I remember specifically because I cast the Flash Wolves game, so I was trying to figure out like exactly how they went against the Ku Tigers. And a lot of the changes were just either Gorilla making a really strange play, like specifically in the game where LeBlanc got crazy fed. It was because he caught a Kennen, he got Kalista ulted. He's like, yeah, go back. And he just died. And then later the Kalista died to the LeBlanc, and at that point, Maple just took over.
Well, we'll see tomorrow. I feel like it has high potential of going all the way to 5 games, but hey, that's what we said today as well. So we will see.
One of these days.
One of these days it'll happen. We'll see what happens. Well, that's all from us here from London, and our third quarterfinal. Our fourth is tomorrow. Same time, same place. See you then.
Crowned 2 semifinalists already, and today we find the third.
Quad's in so much trouble. Yellowstar needs to hit his combo. Flashes for the knockup hit, but pulled backwards. Marco saves him. The knockup finds 2. The double finds 4. And the Maelstrom lands Edward Gaming. Did you ask for a more interesting way to start the quarterfinals? It's a messy fight so far. 2 for 2. And it's Jungler on mid lane action.
I think I remember. Yeah, the Gragas threw the ult, and Bora flew like into the wall on the other side of the pit, and we were all going super ham.
So Bora did nothing last team fight, right?
I had no CD as well.
Big AoE. Mako's been tagged, and Acquired Taste will not even be needed. Get excited with Reckless. Fnatic crush Edward Gaming. Flash comes up from bailout, but Reckless manages to get away. Super Mega Death Rocket gets a kill, gets a reset, gets Reckless excited, but it may not be enough. The upper hand pulls Reckless backwards, and EDG will not go down without a fight. It's a double for Reckless. He wants to run down more. Deft, his brother in arms, will be